show. So hopefully we've gone live now. The funny thing about this app, and I say it in every video, is that it goes live before it shows me that it goes live. So I'm always doing something silly on camera before it kicks on. And then it's like, oh, hey, everybody, I didn't know you were watching me. But what's up, everybody, and welcome to Alloy 7, our live coaching calls as a part, an extension of the YouTube Ninja Academy that we run here. The idea is to give you some success tips that are going to help you build the most valuable channel that you possibly can, but we don't stop there. The principles that we share here in these coachings, these trainings, whatever you want to call them, are really centered around success principles that will apply to any area of your life. Whether you're trying to run a YouTube channel, a blog, you're trying to get a job, a new job, a job at all, you're trying to get a better job, you're trying to start your own business. A lot of the principles that we share here come from the minds of wise people who have shared their knowledge with me throughout history, from people who have been dead for thousands of years and write excellent books like The Art of War, to people who have mentored me personally from my time as a soldier. I spent time as a soldier. I spent time working as the senior manager in a Fortune 500 company, and I've spent time doing consultant work. I've spent time running and owning my own businesses, helping my wife start her business, helping other people run their businesses. I've been all over the map, so I've seen a lot of things, and I am smart enough to know that I am dumb enough to need to ask for help often. Okay, that's the one thing that sets most of the highly successful people that I know apart from the folks who are either marginally successful or not successful at all. It's the really smart ones. No, they're smart enough to know I'm actually not that smart. I need to get other people involved in helping me do something. Specifically, people who have either already done it or at the very least know how to do it. Okay, and put it in a textbook or in some way, shape, or form can show me how to have success. So I'm looking at the board on the screen, and this blue ink doesn't look like it comes through very well, so I will probably be doing some reading here with the hieroglyphics that will be drawn on the board. But tonight's message is centered around the YouTube Success Killers, this series that we're doing. I'm not sure how long it's going to be yet. I've got about 5 or 6 episodes mapped out, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But the YouTube Success Tips principle or theme will continue for as long as I have content to do until we switch to something else. Tonight, what we want to focus on is not just knowledge, but the lack thereof. That's pretty much the second. So we talked about fear last night on last night's call. That's the primary really source of failure that I see with most people that I work with in any field. I work with people, I coach entrepreneurs, I coach YouTubers and social media folks. I coach people physically in terms of I'm a personal trainer for a handful of people. It's not necessarily a business I run yet. It's something that I do in my private life, and I only pick certain people that I want to work with because I'm not ready to turn that into a thing yet because I've got a lot of other stuff going on. But fear is that main ingredient that I see that rips people apart very easily. The second one is also very powerful, and that what I notice, and especially in the YouTube space, is a lack of knowledge. But worse than a lack of knowledge is a lack of willingness to put in the time, the sweat, and the effort to actually get the knowledge that you need to be successful and to win. So I've got some comments here. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything. Terry says, how do you do the thumbnail of this video? It looks like it has a lot of work put into it. Google Images, brother. That's pretty much how that went. And then, I add some Photoshop to it to put the YouTube logo and the language that's in there. But lack of knowledge. And what I see with here's what I always see. My people who are my friends, family, whomever, who are highly successful, highly wealthy, like my mentor. I did a video on my other channel about how to build a multi-million-dollar business from one of my mentors that actually coaches me in business. And what I see in people like him is they're very humble, and they ask for help and they ask for knowledge. He actually came to me. We took a trip together a couple weeks ago. Actually, I guess it's been about a month now. He and I took a trip together, me and my family and his family. And he was asking me for talk me through how you do your marketing when you do social media and YouTube, because it's not something that he does. The businesses that he runs very much don't rely on social media or YouTube or any of that. He makes his money doing something very different. And so He's like, walk me through how you do your marketing. It's very interesting. He sat there for an hour and just listened to me about how I do all of my market research, how I find the markets that I want to work with and who I want to target to help and bring services to, and why I'm passionate about these particular people, because usually the people I focus on helping are people that I am myself. And he just sat there and listened. He's like, okay, so explain to me how, he's like, now tell me about the copyright thing, because it sounds like YouTube and Google have a conflict of interest. And he's just this genius of a man who's made millions upon millions of dollars in business is asking me, his mentee, for advice and knowledge. Now think about that for a second. He already has all the answers he needs. He will live and enjoy his life and leave this earth a very happy and successful man with a lineage of success after him. Why is he asking me about, like, I'm sitting there like, you need to tell me about marketing. But smart, successful people always ask for knowledge when they notice somebody has some. And that's something that I notice with people who are highly successful. They don't act like they know everything. They're quiet, they listen when people who know something are talking, and then they ask for more because they know if I have a piece of knowledge, because he's given me wisdom and nuggets of information that have changed the way I do business. They changed the way that I've run businesses for other people, because he's got 50 years in the game of experience that he can share with me. So I'm smart enough to know that I'm dumb enough that I need to listen to this guy because he knows what he's talking about. What I see with my unsuccessful or mediocre friends and people that I help is they think they know everything. I literally have people that come here on YouTube and want to tell me about a question they're asking me. Like they'll ask me, what should I do for a title? And I'll give them, here's what the textbook says, not me. Here's what people way smarter than me said, like the dudes who basically wrote the book on how YouTube search engine works and Google search engine. And I'm just giving them what the book says. And they're like, oh no, I kind of know that, I should do it this way because this is what works. I'm like, well, what empirical evidence do you have that that's the thing that works? And first of all, if you knew what works, why are you asking me? And that's a lack of humility. And so what I need to help everybody understand is that whatever you believe humility is, you're probably a little off. Because like the example I give in a lot of the coaching calls I do is Michael Jordan, where people think he's an arrogant jerk. Not when it comes to work. This is a dude that was taking advice from the scrubs on his team. They sit down on the bench with him and be like, hey, Mike, when you go up to do this thing, you should look, this guy's, he's flexing to your weak side. And if you do this, and Mike even said himself, I would take advice from anybody who thought they could add something to my life, even if I thought it wasn't going to work, because maybe they see something I don't know. Maybe they see something I don't see. Humility. Now, he outwardly is very cocky, but that's not arrogance. Like, he was humble. This is a dude who, had to make 1,000 jump shots a day. That's not pride and arrogance. That's, I know I'm not good enough to just show up on the court and be awesome. I have to work. I have to practice. And so one of the things I see with a lot of YouTubers who ask for my help is that they don't have knowledge, but it's like they're ashamed of not having the knowledge, so they have to pretend like they do. Like, oh, I know this thing, man. I just need, like, people come to me all the time. I just need one trick to tweak my channel with my 8 subscribers and I'm ready for 1 million. And as ridiculous as that may sound to some of you, I have people that say that to me. They'll come in with 8 subscribers and they're telling me my content is $1 million idea. It's a 1 million subscriber idea. All I need is you to tell me whatever the magic trick is that I need to do that just makes all these 1 million people see my stuff. And it's like, if you're like, what I want to ask them is, have you ever had 100 subscriber idea? Have you ever had 1,000 subscriber idea? A 10,000 subscriber idea? No. And so if that's the case, then, and granted, subscribers is not the only thing we want to measure. In fact, I often tell people that's not necessarily the best measure of success, because different YouTube channels and different audiences have different expectations and different ceilings. Like the ceiling for the work that I do here is not 1 million people. It'll never be. The Alloy 7, outside of some miracle of God, is not really on a trajectory to be 1 million subscriber channel. Not doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I could pivot and do things that are more popular, and if I wanted to do that, but I don't. I want to help people with things that I think are important. And if that means I get less subscribers, fine. I don't care. So, but the point I'm making is you get people that show up and they don't want to say, I don't know something. But the beginning of wisdom is saying, I don't know. And when you don't know, you ask, and then someone who has the information or the experience can help you through it. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way because this lack of knowledge is what I see tearing people apart. And it's very evident in the questions that I get on a daily basis, which we're going to get into here tonight. Let me make sure I'm not missing any comments. Rico's Reef says, what's up, BC? What's up, Rico? We have Bad Karma says, oh no, okay. So that's all I missed was Rico saying what's up. So let me make sure we got everybody. The quote on the board, I'm not sure if you can read it. I can read it from where I'm standing, but let me read it to you just in case. It says, strategy without tactics is the longest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. Okay, now, everyone who's ever used that quote attributes it to Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu never said it that I'm aware of. It's an unknown quote, but it's a very powerful quote. Strategy without tactics. Okay, so basically, and we're going to talk about what strategy is, because people use the word strategy and they use the word tactics and they use them interchangeably. They're two very different things. Okay? And we use them interchangeably, and I'm even guilty of it, and we really don't have a fundamental understanding of what that is. We're going to get into what they are, but essentially you're talking about choice, and you're talking about the things you do once you're in the heat of battle, the things that you've rehearsed over and over and over again, that when you get into a situation, the tactics are the means you employ to actually accomplish whatever your strategy is, okay? So think big picture, think details. It's kind of the easiest analogy, but it's not quite perfect. But think about that. If you've got choice without, what you're going to do when you hit the battlefield, you'll win eventually. And if you live to be 500 years old, you'll make $1 million doing what you're doing today. But it's going to take forever if you don't have some tactics, if you don't have some systems in place that govern how you do your work. Okay? Tactics, the systems in place that govern how you do your work, without strategy or choice, without an overarching goal, is the noise before defeat. In other words, you're putting all these systems together just to lose. If I pull a team of football players together and all I do is practice, here are the plays we're going to run in here's the 8 plays we're going to run in tomorrow's game, and we just practice those 8 plays over and over and over again, but I don't give any thought to the other team, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and based on those strengths and weaknesses, where are we going to play? Where are we going to invest our time and our energy? That's strategy. What are the choices we're going to make about this team we have to face? If I don't sit down and do that, being able to run the plays perfectly is not going to work if those plays don't have a strategy that's governing how we employ the plays. Okay? And we'll get into more about this strategy and tactics when we get down here to number 4 and number 5. But I wanted to say that up front because so many of you, and not necessarily you on the call, but so many of the people that I help live here. They live here. It's systems. Teach me tricks. Teach me tips. Teach me hacks. Teach me how to get this. Teach me these little individual. Teach me how to build a sales funnel. Like, all of those things are great, and you do need them. But if you haven't got this right first, this stuff is not going to help you enough. Like, you will not live long enough for this to help you win. You know what I mean? If all you're doing is focusing here, you're destined to fail. If you're looking for, how do I need to adjust my titles? What type of thumbnails should I use? Should my Let's Plays be 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 5 minutes long? When you're focusing on those things, you're doing what Tony Robbins calls majoring in minors. In other words, you're caring about these little individual tactics, which in the big picture, the long term, aren't going to help you as much as your strategy will when you apply the tactics to a strategy. And I can't stress that enough. People come to me all the time, and I'm happy to do it, but I've stopped doing it because I want people to understand that it's not helping them. They'll come, hey, B, come check out my channel and give me 2 tips that you would change. I'm like, no, I don't need to go to your channel. I can figure out how good your channel is by asking you 3 questions. Why are you doing what you're doing? Who are you doing it for? And why should they care? If you can answer those 3 questions well, and well is somewhat relative. There's no black and white, right or wrong answer to that, but there are wrong answers to it. Or we won't say wrong. There are less than optimal answers to that question. And based on how the person answers those 3 questions, I can predict what your channel looks like. I don't need to go watch your videos. And frankly, depending on what type of videos you make, I'm not the best judge of your content. You know what I mean? Like, I make Let's Plays. I don't really enjoy watching Let's Plays except from a handful of people that do them in a way that's intriguing to me, which is not, just playing the game and trying to be funny. Like, I like more people like Mark that I always talk about. And he doesn't really do Let's Plays, he does reviews. And he has this nostalgic, like he went to a convention near where he lives, and he just showed all of these old arcade machines that some existed before I was born. You know, I'm old enough to remember arcades and remember 7-Eleven having Street Fighter 2 in it. Like, most of you may not be old enough to remember going to 7-Eleven or whatever the convenience store is where you're from, and it having Street Fighter 2 in it. Like, I'm old enough to remember that. And Mark is showing all these old machines that are even older than that. Because Mark's, you know, a good bit older than me. And it's just like, wow, I love it. It's like it's like hanging out with Mark and going to a convention. That was really cool because it was something that I was interested in. Listening to people try to be funny, like, hey, you know, it's me, I'm the blah, 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 or whatever. It's not really, so you asked me to come to your channel and critique it. There's other people who could do that better for you than I could. You know, you probably should ask a more successful Let's Player than me, because that's, you know, I make them, but I don't make Let's Plays for the sake of making Let's Plays. I make Let's Plays because I want to engage people in conversation. My Let's Plays are kind of a hook to bring people in and talk to them, like Terry, who's on here right now. He and I get into long tirades of conversation and debate about the gaming industry, and I love having those conversations. It's very enjoyable for me, and it keeps me sharp, and he says things that make me question, maybe I'm wrong about this thing that I think. Let me revisit that. And he actually allows me to kind of, almost like if you're a boxer or a fighter, like Terry and I spar. Like, it's like two friends in the ring sparring, and Terry's helping me sharpen what I believe. Okay? So, I'm not the best person to come check out your channel, because frankly, if your Let's Plays are like most of the other Let's Plays that are on YouTube, I'm gonna be biased. So asking me to just come check that out is not gonna help you. But if you can answer those 3 questions, I can help you greatly, without ever having to look at your channel. Because if you get those 3 questions optimized and you have effective answers for them, then that's going to help you make your Let's Play. It doesn't matter what kind of video content you make. It's going to be optimized for your audience. Okay? So let's see what Terry said here. What if you pick the Leroy Jenkins approach to strategy? Just dive straight in. So, got my giant green juice / water bottle here. So diving in is not necessarily wrong, but you need to have some semblance of a strategy. And like, you don't have to wait until everything is perfect and figured out before you start. But starting before you even consider this is probably a bad idea. Unless you're just doing it as a hobby just for fun, then that's fine. There are still lots of arcade machines around, though, such as Space Invader gaming tables. Yeah, where I'm from, you don't see them as much, though. There's actually some arcades where I live, but that's why the restaurant, like, they have restaurants and bars that have been turned into arcades for like nostalgia purposes, but it's very rare where I'm from. Empirical sources, I remember playing Super Mario Bros., the original, in Pizza Hut. Yeah. Yo Bro says Restoring Heroes Project. Good. All right, so any questions or comments before we move into the meat of tonight's discussion? But just remember, strategy without tactics is the longest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And it's written by unknown. You're going to hear all over the internet and from people that Sun Tzu wrote that it's in The Art of War. I have read The Art of War. It's not in there. So just in case you're wondering, that's basically, this book gets attributed to that quote gets attributed to this book. It's not in there. So, and I've read this book probably 3 or 4 times and taken notes on it. So, anyway, what are the things, where do YouTubers have a large lack of knowledge such that it's hindering them, let's say us, because, you know, I lack knowledge too. Even though I coach and I do have a lot of information, I don't know everything. Again, I'm smart enough to know that I'm dumb enough to need to ask for help. That should be your mantra. It's my mantra, but you can steal it if you like. I am smart enough to know that I am dumb enough to need to ask for help in everything I do. Everything. Even things that I consider myself an expert in doing, I still ask for help. In the gym, I still ask people to check my form and to spot me. Even though the person I'm asking to do it may not be as skilled as I am. But that person has eyes, and a lot of times the people I'm asking to check me are the people I coach. Because if I'm coaching them, and if they see me messing it up, they're going to copy me. So I'm like, no, I remember doing a set bad one time, and And me and this guy are really close. So I yelled at him. I said, dude, you saw my form sucking on those pull-ups. Why didn't you say something? Don't let me half-ass in the gym like that again. If you see me half-assing like that, punch me in the back and tell me to do the pull-ups right. And he was like, all right. He's like, I didn't think I got to yell at the coach. I said, the coach is the one that, yes, you have to keep me in line. We're a team. Just because I'm the coach doesn't mean I get everything right. Okay? And so I include myself in here. So what we're going to jump into is the areas where I see people have the most lack of knowledge, where it hurts them. So anyway, first and foremost, knowledge of self. We don't know who we are. We don't know what we want. We don't know what our end goals are. And so one of the first lessons we give in our YouTube Ninja Academy on the premium side, the part that we charge for. And actually, I've done some of that training for free on my other channel, so you can see some of it. You won't see how it's related to building a YouTube channel. You'll just kind of get the personality test stuff. But the bottom line is knowledge of self. We don't spend enough time really understanding, what this book says. And if anybody that follows this channel, you better read this book. And I'm not even joking. If you don't do anything else I've told you, read this. This book will give you life-changing information that no blog about how to optimize your titles on YouTube will ever give you. Okay? You understand what's in this book, you will be light years ahead of your competition. And here's why. Because the book is all about understanding yourself, understanding how you learn, how you work, what your goals and what your principles and values are. Because if you know how you learn, then you can best, like I hear people all the time when I tell them to read, they're like, can I use audiobooks? I'm like, if you learn better by hearing, yes. If you learn better by reading, read. I learn better by talking. It's in the book. I learn best by talking. So giving these coaching calls is helping me as much as it's helping you all, because it's forcing me to know the information, and then it's forcing me to prove that I know the information because I can talk about it for hours at a time. Okay? So you know those things. You know how you work. Are you the type of person that likes to work in groups? Do you like working in isolation? Are you more of a team and social person? How do you what are your values and your principles? Because the book says if you work in a place where you don't agree with the values and the principles, or worse, if the values and the principles are offensive to you, it's going to be a miserable ride. And I've done that. I've said it many times on this coaching call. In my past, I chased money once upon a time. I chased that six-figure salary that everybody talks about, and I got it. And I was miserable for however many years I was working at that place. It was a nightmare. I was just like, this is nowhere. Like, it was funny because actually the guy I used to work for, he was an awesome dude. We used to joke about just getting jobs at McDonald's. It was just like, this would be, he's like, if you do fries, I'll do lettuce, man. I'm just like, yeah, it was like the one person in the office who, and not the one person, there was a lot of great people there. It just was a couple bad eggs that made it not fun, and kind of a culture of the organization that made it not fun. But we used to joke about that. He was a great dude. I loved working with him. But the point is, if you know yourself, you know how you work, how you learn, and what your values are. Knowing yourself is really half of the battle to winning and being successful in anything, not just YouTube. Because when you know that, you won't spend time chasing opportunities that don't suit you. Like one of the things I did on YouTube was when I started doing Let's Plays at first, I got very frustrated because I understood how YouTube worked. I was like, okay, I need to do these games, in order to get the viewership that I want to get. But these games were games that I hated playing. Like there was one Let's Play where one of the viewers came in and was like, hey bro, it's okay to quit. Like we can tell you're mad, like just quit. And in my mind, I was like, I didn't think I could quit a Let's Play. I thought I had to make it to the end. Otherwise, people wouldn't respect her. They wouldn't respect me as a creator or whatever. And he was just like, no, it's totally cool to quit. You're done. This isn't even fun to watch anymore. Because it's fun to watch because you're angry and you're cussing at the screen. And so, knowing myself, I didn't apply the knowledge. Like I said, I lack knowledge too sometimes. I didn't apply the knowledge of myself to know making zany, weird, hyper Let's Plays wasn't going to work for me. Right? So, making reviews is where I got started. That was really my passion. And so I knew that, okay, if I make a Let's Play, then it needs to be more like a long-form review versus, me trying to infuse trying to be a comedian or trying to be, like, I'm not an educator. I'm not going to be the dude that teaches you how to play a game, because I suck at most of the games I play. I just like talking about games and playing them. I'm not necessarily great. Like, I can't teach you how to play Axiom Verge. I beat it and got almost all the achievements, but it took me 90 hours or whatever. I sucked at it. But I love the game. So the point is, when you know yourself, you won't chase opportunities that don't suit you and burn yourself out and get miserable and want to quit. Or worse, attract an audience that you don't really want. You know, as much as I love being able to help everybody, I prefer to work with more mature people in every area of my life. And it doesn't mean old, it just means people with a certain, I like working with people with a ninja's mindset. I don't like working with opportunists. I don't like working with lazy people. And then believe me, there's a ton of lazy people like, hey dude, I love your videos. Can you tell me XYZ? XYZ was at, 28 seconds into this video. Clearly you didn't watch it. I don't like working with that group of people. Not because they're not great human beings, but because that laziness is going to force me to work harder to help them. And I'm the kind of person I'll work with you when you're ready. Because when you're ready to come to the gym, like there's people in the gym I won't work with. People that ask me to train them, I'm like, no. Because I know how you are in real life. You and me in the gym are not going to like each other. Because I'm not going to waste my time on someone who doesn't want it. I had somebody tell me before a workout, and I did work with this person because they do have tenacity. They just didn't know. They're like, I need you to help me stay motivated. I said, not my job. And nor am I capable of keeping you motivated. Your motivation has to come from your own desire. You don't want it bad enough, I can't make you want it. I don't want to work with that person. One of my mentors actually hosted a conference where one of his mentors came and he gave us an amazing bit of advice that was hard for me to swallow at first, because I'm usually kind of the guy that likes to help the underdogs. But sometimes you got to realize that the underdogs are there because they chose to be there, not because life just handed them a bad hand. Not always, but sometimes. And so he said, I will refuse to work with anybody who's cheap about improving themselves. This is a guy that charges I think $2,500 an hour just to talk to people. And it's not ripping people off, it's because he knows he will make you at least four times that amount just from talking to him for an hour. You'll more than make that money back because he's that good. He's helped companies upon companies build businesses of millions and billions of dollars. So he knows his stuff. And it was great advice. If you're going to work with someone who's lazy about how they approach their work, I'm not only wasting my time, I'm wasting the time of the ninjas in this academy who are here to work, because I'm branching off to go help you. I'm helping you be lazy when you could have just Googled that. It's one thing to Google it and not understand it. And this is one of the things I love about working with women, because women don't typically, dudes do this all the time. In most cases, and I realize I'm stereotyping, and this is just my experience, I don't think I've had maybe 2 women that I've helped pull I'm just going to ask him a question without Googling it move. Like, most of the women will come and say, I Googled this, here's the link, here's what it said, here is the part of the sentence where I had a problem understanding what it's trying to say. Can you give me any insight into this thing here? Absolutely, ma'am. Here's what you need to consider, and here's the policy from YouTube that backs it up. Focus on this paragraph, and here's kind of what YouTube says it means. Dudes would just be like, hey, bro, can you give me the email to the dude at freaking Capcom so I can get some free games? Like, made a video about how to do that. All you gotta do is watch the video. I'll show you where I get all my emails from, because I can't give you the email lazy. And I am not apologetic about how I talk to people, because I came from a world of training and working with and having them train me, like literal ninjas. Okay, the world's elite warriors. That's who I worked with. That's who trained me. That's who I trained. All right. So I don't have patience for people that don't have at least a little bit of that in their tank. Like, I'm not expecting you to be a Navy SEAL when you show up here, but I'm expecting you to be willing to work. And I won't work with a person who's lazy or cheap. And I understand it, cheap is not just about money. It's not about me charging you $2,500 an hour to give you some advice. Cheap also has to deal with being lazy and not being willing to put in work, okay? And because I know that about myself, I know how to target those particular audiences. Like, the things I'm saying now are going to make these people that I'm telling you about be like, I don't want to talk to that guy. He's a jerk. Good. Please continue to believe that, because then I will never have to work with you. And I pray you don't get into one of my programs, because you'll be the person that emails me every week about some complaint about a program that you paid $200 for that was really worth probably about $5,000. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I know myself, I know who I want to work with, and so I tailor my message to attract who I. Now, granted, inevitably you'll find people that are attracted to you anyway, and you can't avoid that. And my heart is to help everybody, but everybody can't be helped. Does that make sense? Bueno. Let's see. Okay, so Terry's talking about a guy said, "Don't follow your dreams, take them with you." I'd be careful with that. I don't know what he meant by it, but I follow Picasso's advice. Don't fall for the world's worst dichotomy, which is you do something you hate to get money to help you do something you love. All right, trust me. There are times where I talk to my wife and I'm like, if I could go back in time, there's a couple things I would change. And part of it is I wouldn't be so afraid, and I would just take certain actions, like the things I tell you guys not to be afraid about. I do it because I've lived through it, not because I'm judging you, because I've been you. You know, I've been the lazy guy that didn't want to look things up and was too arrogant to ask for help. I'm not judging you for being that way. I used to be that. I used to be an arrogant prick in some ways. Not in every area. I mean, I'm a pretty okay guy, but in some ways I was arrogant with the way that I approach things. Anyway, so we have to get knowledge of self. How do we do that? The easiest way to do it is start taking personality tests. Now, I coach people through how to do personality tests in the academy. I have free versions of that on my other YouTube channel. There's no link in the description, but I can get that to you guys later on if you want it. But start taking like the Myers-Briggs test, start taking the hexacode test, the DISC test. There's all kinds of different personality tests that will help you understand who you are. And they're not perfect. They're not exact science. You'll hear people often say, Myers-Briggs is highly inaccurate. And it can be. It's nuanced though. You know what I mean? Hold on, make sure my battery's not about to click off here. It's nuanced. It's not going to get everything right because everybody's different. And one of the things I teach when I teach on the Myers-Briggs test is understand that your life experience is going to affect some of your tendencies. So, for example, my personality type is not big on public affection. I have no problem. It has a tendency to not be big on public affection. I don't care. It doesn't bother me, and I'm happy to do it. But the reason why I'm okay with public affection is because I've been in life or death situations, so I know how fragile life can be, and I understand the mindset of, this may be the last day you see, this could be the last day you're here. You might want to kiss your loved ones, okay? Unfortunately, I don't believe it's the last day I'm going to be here, but the point is, my experience kind of has the authority over my tendency. Like my tendency to show public affection may be somewhat, reluctant, but at this point, I don't care. So everything about the test is not going to be exactly accurate, but it's going to get a lot of the principles about your temperament. And if you study, once you take the Myers-Briggs, look into the cognitive functions. I'm teaching on that on my other channel as well. The cognitive functions, I think, do a better job of actually pinpointing why we are the way we are and where our energy comes from and where we focus it. So get knowledge of yourself before you ever start jumping, because what knowledge of self will help you do also for you YouTubers is YouTube really for me? Is YouTube really the place for me to do my dream? Is gaming my dream? Is art my dream? Is vlogging my dream? Is doing YouTube comedy really my dream? I'll give you a perfect example of where I got that wrong. Music. So at one point in time, playing professional football was my dream. That dream actually suited me very well. Instead of professional football, I went into professional military. Very similar people. Okay, like I told you in last night's call, a very close friend of mine and a mentor and a minister to me is a former NFL player. And I have other friends that I've sung in choirs with that have been in Super Bowls, etc., etc. So that was a legitimate dream. Now that dream panned out with me going into the military instead of me going into football for various reasons, most of which I probably was not good enough to play professional football. But that fit me well. Somewhere along the line, I started playing music and believed that maybe music is my dream. But what I found out from playing music and again, getting mentoring from people in the music industry who are way at the top and way smarter than me, they helped me understand that music isn't really what you're trying to do. Because what I was trying to do, very similar to what I started with Alloy 7, was inspire people through music. And people, a lot of times, while they can be inspired through music, it's not necessarily why they go to it. You know, people go to music and entertainment usually for escapism. And I had a musician explain that to me too, a guy that I worked with years ago. And he's just like, what you're trying to do, you'd be better suited like coaching people and, you know, doing those types of things. Like music is, people aren't going to come to listen to that. He's like, you can sneak it in, but the bottom line is I realized that music isn't really my dream. It's not. It's not where I need to be, so I pulled out of it. I was like, okay, I don't really need to be a part of it anymore. It's kind of fun to be on stage, but I prefer to be on stage to impact somebody's life, not to just entertain them for an hour so that they can go back to their crappy life as soon as the song's over. You know, I want to help the crappy life not be so crappy anymore. So get knowledge of self. Second thing, people do not know their why. Okay, I talk about this a lot on the channel. I talk about it to people in the academy are probably sick of me talking about it. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. So once you know what makes you tick, you know how you learn, how you work, what your values are, you know your personality type in terms of, and your personality type will help you understand what you have a tendency to be good at. Once you know those things, then you start to figure out, okay, why am I on this earth? What am I put here to do? And more specifically for tonight's talk, why am I on YouTube? Why am I here? What am I working to do? And there's no wrong answer to that, okay? There's no wrong answer to your why. Your why is yours. But your why has to be strong enough and relatable enough that other people are going to want to be a part of it, because this is really where you connect with your audience. And that's what everybody misses. And I got people coming to me today, hey man, can you teach me how to get more people to come watch my video? And I'm like, people don't come watch your video. You go to them, and you don't spam them to death to tell them to watch it. You go to them by creating something that they want desperately, learning the knowledge when we get into the tactics of how to build that content and how to do the meta tagging and everything so that when people search for it, they can find it. And then when they do, so like my monetization videos did not blow up overnight. The first monetization video I did that has, you know, one video has over 1 million views, but the first one I did has like, I think 40,000 or something like that. It didn't have 40,000 views in a week. The first week it did 500 views or less. I think maybe in the first month it did 500 views. But over time, more and more people started searching for that and started finding me. And because what they found was they were going to other people that were more popular than me and had way more views, but they weren't getting the information they needed. And then my video would pop up and they're like, let me take a chance on this weird big-headed guy. And they're like, oh man, this dude really sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And he does, because he's worked with music organizations like BMI and ASCAP and understands how those copyrights work and why music is so hard to use on YouTube, and I can explain it. So people slowly but surely, remember what I said last night, Coach Bruce Arians from the Arizona Cardinals, I think he's still there, watching an awesome series on Amazon, by the way, about the Arizona Cardinals from last year. I would love to have played for Coach Arians, man. He is a beast. And one of the things he says is you have to respect the process. You know, you don't become magic overnight. You respect the process. You practice hard, you play hard, you win. And so you have to respect the process. That video didn't blow up overnight, but it blew up because it gave something of value to a large group of people who needed that value. They were afraid that their channels were going to be in jeopardy if they did something wrong. So people will come to me and they have no why. Their why is, I just want to make money so I don't have to go get a job, or I want to be funny and, you know, make $1 million a year playing video games. And it doesn't work like that. There's nobody making $1 million on YouTube just sitting around playing video games. Are you kidding me? And don't think for a second that PewDiePie is just sitting around playing video games. All right, he works. And you look at his content, you may think it's silly or whatever, but trust me, he works. And so you have to know your why, and you better make it good, because this is why people are going to want to connect with you. A lot of the people connected with me who didn't come here for the monetization stuff because they heard my focus is having a positive impact on your life. And they're like, I like this guy. Like, he's actually trying to bring positivity to a community of people whose vocal minority, because the majority of gamers are not cynical and angry. Let's get that out of the way. The majority of gamers are not cynical and angry. The majority of gamers don't care. They're at home playing games. The ones who are fussing on the internet are what's called the vocal minority. It's a very small group of angry, bitter people. They're a vocal minority. They just yell louder than everybody else. It's as simple as that. And so I was like, I'm going to yell a different message. That it's not as bad as you think it is. You live in America. You have shoes. You're not going to die from starvation tonight. You don't have to prostitute your sister because you don't have enough money for food. So don't sit here and tell me that the sky is falling because a game sucked. I brought that message to YouTube. Some other people were like, I kind of like this dude. He keeps it real, right? Exactly. That was my why, and people really connected with that. Not a ton of people because I wasn't sensational. I didn't make, a bunch of people exposed. Like, I didn't take advantage of people's psychology. And that's what most of YouTube is. It's just like the media. It's turning into the media where people are taking advantage of your psychology and your biology. They know that human beings are wired to pay attention to negativity because thousands of years ago, that's how we survived. And so we just make a bunch of negative content and people can't get enough of eating it up and getting angry and being a part of this discussion that helps nothing, solves nothing. All the social justice and all these people that are screaming, how much money did you put up towards social justice? And if you put up money, then I'll shut up, right? But if you're just screaming on the internet because you're angry, you're wasting your breath, and anybody that's listening to you is wasting their life. That was my why. And so you have to have a why. You have to know your why. Most people don't. Their why is, I think YouTube is an easy way to make money, and so I'm just going to do YouTube videos. And then when they fail, they come see me, or they come see Tim, or they come see Daryl, or they go and see Roberto, and it's, hey, can you help me build my channel? It's like, well, I got to help build you first. I can't help you build a channel when you have nothing to say. You can't just get on here with nothing to say, nothing to talk about, and expect that 1 million people are going to want to follow you around because you're passionate about something. Everybody's passionate about something. Doesn't mean I want to sit there and listen to you talk about it, unless you have a unique message that's tied to a purpose that other people want to get around. Like Mark Bussler, Classic Game Room. Mark is kind of the guy that indirectly mentored me, him and Derek. And so, and by the way, my ebook, the YouTube Gamer Survival Guide, is totally free now if you join the mailing list. Links in the description. And I was going to say Mark is actually in the book. And one of his slogans is fight the future. So he loves the nostalgia. Like, one of the things that Mark is very passionate about is this idea that the new age of games have become so focused on power. And it's not a original message. Other people say it too, but Mark's perspective is very unique because, first of all, he's an older guy. He's older than all of us. He's been around longer. He was alive, I think, when Atari was made. I wasn't. My family had an Atari, but that was years later. And I have a brother that's 10 years old, like that's closer to Mark's age. He's 10 years older than me. So we had an Atari in the house. But the point is, the future has made gaming about spectacle and how many frames per second does this thing run at? And they forgot, like, Record came out and everybody thought it sucked. How in the world do video games' greatest creators come together and make something that nobody likes? I'll tell you how. Because we get so focused on textures and freaking frames per second and all of these things that don't matter in terms of what makes the game fun. And that's what Mark really talks about, is fight the future. Like, I like playing Truxton, as silly as it looks today, because the game was actually fun. Or I like playing this horrible game because it's funny. Like, does anybody remember NBA All-Star Challenge on, I think that was Super Nintendo? It was one of the worst games on the planet, but it was so much fun. Like, me and my boys at my house used to play that on Super Nintendo when we were kids, and it sucked. But that's what made it fun, was us making fun of the game. That doesn't exist anymore. Now we just get on the internet and argue about freaking frame rates. Or this isn't 4K capable. How big is your television? How big is your 4K TV, and how close do you sit to it? Oh, it's 40 inches and you sit 20 feet away from it. Guess what? You can't see 4K. And 4K resolution isn't what makes the picture look dope anyways. It's other components. But we buy into this marketing. So the point of this very long tirade is, his why is showing people that there's joy to be had in gaming outside of just future technology and innovation of power. And a lot of people like me rally behind that because I agree with him. You see what I mean? You know, I follow people like Ty Lopez. I don't just follow him. He's actually one of my mentors. So, you may see some of his gimmicky stuff on YouTube, but when you were with him, and I've gone and met, some of his mentors and got them to mentor me and had conversations with them, you learn that these guys are like kings, man. They know their stuff. And when you're around them, you just shut up and listen. Like when I'm around Joel Salatin, I feel like I become a better person just because of the stuff he brings to the table. And getting the chance to talk to him and getting him to autograph my book, which I think I've got around here somewhere. Yeah. So check it out. I went to meet Joel Salatin. If you guys don't know Joel Salatin, if you've seen the movie Food Inc., he's actually the good guy. So to Bryant, blessings, Joel. I got him to sign my book, and he writes. I love his books because he writes like he's talking to you. Like if you've ever heard him speak live, and then you read his book is just like him, but he's so passionate when he speaks. It's amazing. And anyway, all of these people have a why that you can get behind. Like, I want people to have a better life. That's Ty's whole thing. I want people to have a better life because I know what having life that sucks feels like. Tony Robbins is the same way. Tony Robbins is one of Ty's mentors. So it's like Tony Robbins will tell you, like, he was abused as a child. Like, he went through hell. And he doesn't want anyone else to go through that, so that's why he does what he does. People get behind that. You got to know your why. And too many people come here and they show up and they don't have either one of these figured out. Like, we haven't even got the strategy yet, and that's what I say. Like, I can't give you tips and tricks because now I have to build you up first. Because nobody coached you, that YouTube isn't just some place where you throw up videos and then all of a sudden you're famous. YouTube is a place where you come to connect with people. And if you do not know you, and by the way, if you're not comfortable with you, it's going to come across on camera. And if you don't know why you're here, you can't convey that to somebody in a way that's easy, in a way that they can understand without having to use up a lot of the glycogen in their brain, or brain power for my non-scientific folks, if that's not your thing, then you're going to have trouble keeping them attracted. All right, let's take some comments and questions here. All right. So Terry says it does exist. BC, it's called Two Worlds. No argument out of me. So Two Worlds is to me as Truxton is to Mark. Like, I have been an advocate of Two Worlds since the first time I played it, and everybody started calling me racist names because I loved it. Fine, I don't care. Like, I don't even. Do you even know what race I am to call me names? I'm not even sure what race I am. I got so many of them up in here. Anyway, got to know yourself. Got to know your why. Next. And this is one of the things we focus heavily on in the academy. You have to know your who. In other words, once you know yourself, you're comfortable with yourself, and you've mapped out why you're doing what you're doing, whether it's YouTube, getting a new job, starting a business, doesn't matter. Once you've mapped out why, like I told you guys last night, why am I starting a program for transitioning combat veterans? Or I've already started it, but why am I building it? Because I know how hard it is to make that transition. And because I've lived through it for many years, and all the struggle, all the pain, all the depression, and everything that you deal with when you take that uniform off, I can help people not go down that 9, 10, however long, 15-year road of crap. The world doesn't make sense to me anymore. I can take somebody and within a couple of months get them access to information and people that are helping me. People like Colonel Grossman here, which the gaming world had some issues with, but I think it's because they misunderstood what he wrote in his book. He's one of the guys that coined the phrase murder simulators, but gamers kind of got bent out of shape about some things that he was taken out of context on. But he is a person that I reach out to and reaches out to me and helps me, okay? That's my why. I can get people behind that. And also know who I'm working with, right? Combat veterans transitioning from the military to civilian life. It's very specific, right? Nobody has to wonder who this program is for when I start talking. They know, because I make it clear. I know my who. And you have to understand, once you're cool with you and you know you and your why has to suit you. Can't be somebody else's why. It can't be, your mom and dad wanted you to be a lawyer. If you're not wired to be a lawyer, like if my mom and dad had wanted me to be an accountant, it would have been a horrible life. I know how to do finance and accounting. I hate it. I do it because I own a business, but trust me, I hire somebody to help me with it because, nope, not my strongest skill set. And I'd rather source that out to someone who is extremely good at it than try to make myself good at something I'm only going to be mediocre at doing. So now I need to know who I'm working to reach. Because if I don't know who, then the who won't know that I'm working for them. And they won't come check out my content. Going back to that example I said where people are always asking me, how do I get more people to come check out my stuff? First, you know yourself, then you know your why, and you're able to articulate your why succinctly and clearly. And then 3, you know who your videos are for. Because when you know who, then you can go research what who wants, what who needs, what who is desperately struggling with. And when you know those things, you can start to make videos that address whose problems. And then eventually, trust me, who is going to come looking for solutions to those problems. And guess what they're going to find? If you've learned the principles we teach in our Ninja Academy, they're going to find you. Not a million people are going to find you at first. You know, like my new channel now, I think, you know, my first videos is after a week of being a channel and not really advertising. I didn't go to my whole Alloy 7 and be like, please come subscribe to me, because I don't want people there that don't want to be there. I think we've got close to 300 views on the first video, but that's huge. Like, can you imagine starting a channel where your first video immediately goes to 300 views because you know what you're doing? And those are the things that we teach, and we can get you from 0 to down the road much faster than someone who's starting off without all of this knowledge. And that's why I make these videos, so that you have the knowledge and you can apply it. But the point is, you got yourself figured out, you've got your why figured out. Now you know what your who wants. Eventually your who is going to find you through related videos, and then eventually it'll start showing up in search. Because more, if it's valuable and it actually answers the problem that the who has. And the problem could be anything from they need tips on how to do something, they need to beat a level on a game, they need someone to teach them how to do digital art. There's a million different things, and they want someone that makes music that's enjoyable for them to listen to. People are always looking for new music. Unless you're me, you just kind of stick to what you like. That's part of myself. I know myself. My personality type is not one that goes looking for new stuff. Once we have something we really like, we just kind of do that. And we're open to try new things. But if there's no real incentive for us to do it, we're good. You know, incentive drives us a lot more than anything else. But you got to know who you're making your what for. Why, and it has to come from inside here. You cannot follow somebody else's why. It will never work. It's like, you know, like one of the things we used to deal with in music was you have these bands that are just perennial cover bands. And what I mean by that is they just play other people's music. Those bands are you never see them on David Letterman, because they're not putting their heart and soul into creating something that's their own. They're playing somebody else's stuff. And it's okay to do that. You can make money being a cover band, especially in Vegas. But you're never going to be cream of the crop playing somebody else's stuff. Okay? You can learn from other people's stuff and use it to make your own, but you get the point. Let's see, we got some comments here. I'm enjoying your ebook, says Bad Karma. Working for them, going to keep that in mind. Yeah, that's exactly what you do when you're a YouTuber. Everybody has a boss, and that's the other thing. Like, people join YouTube, I don't want to have a boss. You have a boss. They're called viewers and subscribers. That's your boss. Because if you're using YouTube to make your money, that's who you're answering to. You know, just like my business, my people that buy my programs are my boss. You don't ever get to a situation in life where you don't have a boss. You may just not have a boss that you go to a building to work for, but believe me, I've had over 60 people come into a program, you know, and I've coached over 50,000, but I've had over, you know, from time and, you know, in different places, I've had probably upwards of 100 people come through programs of mine recently, not, you know, older businesses that I've built. And those are my bosses. Those people have needs, they have wants, they ask questions. I can't just, someone asks a question in our private Facebook group, I can't just be like, I don't want a boss. I got to go answer them. Not because I want their money, because I made a commitment to help these people out. Period. And if, you know, I don't go help them out, then what was the commitment for? What are we here for? This is what I do. Right? That's my who. That's my boss. Now, I think I've got that pretty much squared away. So here's what I want you all to start thinking about in the comments section below. I want you to type out, so far, what do you think, out of the things I've discussed, is your weakest area in terms of knowledge? Is it knowing yourself? Is it knowing your why? Is it knowing your who? What is your weakest area? And as you type those out, that will give me fuel. Like I said, I like to tailor these videos. I don't like just to do the content that I've prepared. I like to also tailor the discussion around your needs and your desires. Again, you know, with you guys being my boss. What's up, Void Case? Or is it Kaze? Void Case. Something like that. Anyway, so go ahead and write that out. I'm going to keep trucking along here, but go ahead and write that out. Next is, now we're going to start talking strategy. All right, strategy in its simplest form, and people will come up with very long, complicated definitions for strategy. You really don't need to. I'm going to move out of the way so you guys can actually see the board here. I could never be a weatherman. Yeah, maybe I could. I might be able to be a weatherman. I can do that. Anyway, strategy in its simplest form is choice. It's that simple. Strategy is choice. It's about deciding where you're going to play and where you're not going to play, based on your specific strengths, yourself, based on why you do what you do, and based on who you were trying to reach with your why. Okay? That's strategy. It's that simple. People make it very complicated. It's not. It's about deciding where you're going to play, and frankly, really the mark of the best companies are in looking where they decide not to play. Apple could get into the video game business. They have not. Why do I think that's the case? I could be wrong, but I'll tell you. The reason why I don't think Apple messes with video games is because they understand economics, right? And what one of the principles of economics dictates is that trade allows individuals or organizations to do or focus on and do what they do best. That's what trade allows. Okay, trade allows corporations and individuals, because remember, a corporation is just an organism that's made up of a bunch of people. It allows these units to focus on and do what they do best. It's the beauty of trade in economics. Why doesn't Apple do video games? Because it's not what they do best. Now, granted, they have video games on their platform. You know, they sell games and apps and stuff like that. But why has Apple not put out at least I think they haven't, unless I missed an announcement. But even if I'm wrong, the principle's still the same. Apple hasn't made, if they haven't, I think they haven't, hasn't made a video game console because they realize that's not what they're best at. They're best at phones and computing. Period. That's what they're best at. So why focus attention on, like, remember in Peter Drucker's book, you have to build success on your strengths. If my strengths aren't making video games, why would I start a division where I make video games? I mean, the reason why Microsoft got into video games is because they made the platform DirectX, which is that's where the Xbox came from. It was the DirectX box, basically. But they still struggle with that. Like, God, should we kind of separate ourselves from our video game? Like, should we sell off our video game company? That's a conversation that's happened at Microsoft more than once, because they line extended themselves into video games. Now, they've been successful, but when you look at how Microsoft makes its money, video games is a joke. It is a flat out joke. And I think the only reason they've really stayed in that game, this is my opinion, the reason why Microsoft stayed in the video game business is because it allowed them to test out other technology, aka Kinect, aka other products they want to launch. Kinect was an experiment. Kinect had very little to do with video games, in my opinion. It had everything to do with collecting data on how people move, on how people play games, on how people interact with technology. Because they have Azure now, and they're doing machine learning to build Cortana, which is their version of Siri, but it's going to become basically an AR. And so that's where they want to play. That's where, if you listen to the CEO, I was at a conference where he spoke, and that's what he talked about. That's where his money is. And he talked about Kinect. And he wasn't talking about video games. He was talking about what Kinect has allowed us to do. So don't think for a second that Kinect was just, oh, I want to bring gamers movement controls. It was movement controls really caught on with Nintendo. And by the way, Nintendo is also kind of secretly working on fitness stuff too. These big companies, please do not underestimate these big companies. A lot of smart people make these multi-billion-dollar companies successful. By the way, Nintendo is still the #1 video game company in terms of console sales overall. So just thought I'd throw that out there for people who think Nintendo is struggling. But the point is, we have to play, strategy dictates that we have to play where we're strongest. Just like with my football analogy earlier, if I am going to play the Seahawks, here's a better team. If I'm going to play the 2015 Minnesota Vikings, if you don't know anything about football, it's fine. Just roll with me. I have got to prepare for the running game. They're going to run Adrian Peterson down our throats. So all of my strategy has to be centered around stopping Adrian Peterson first. It can't be about what coverage packages am I going to run against Teddy Bridgewater, because the fact of the matter is they're going to run Adrian Peterson at us all night. And if he gets success, they're going to keep running him at us, and that's their main weapon. You have to prepare for your enemy's most likely course of action. That's strategy. So instead of saying, well, I'm going to focus on this other thing over here, no. Strategy dictates that based on what you're trying to conquer, you have to bring the people that are going to help you conquer it the best. You have to decide where you're going to focus, stopping the run. Where you're not going to focus is, worrying about Teddy Bridgewater in the passing game. And actually in last year's game, they focused on man coverage for a lot of the wide receivers to allow, the defense to get after Adrian Peterson. And that's what I mean. You have to know yourself, your why, and your who, so that you can know where. That's what I call strategy, is the where. Where are you going to play? But more importantly, where are you not going to play? And what I watch with a lot of creators, myself, I'd say myself included, but honestly with Alloy 7, I was running experiments a lot of the time. It wasn't necessarily, me trying to line extend myself, because I had been in business for a while and knew, I had all these different kind of products, but it was because I was still figuring out what direction I wanted to go exactly. And so I tried a bunch of different things. That's okay to experiment, especially in the early stages of your channel. It's okay. If you're not quite sure and you want to try a couple different things to see if they fit with you, do reviews work for me, do vlogs work for me, do, DIY videos where I'm fixing cars or whatever it is I do work for me. It's okay if you want to dance around a little bit, especially in the early stages, to see what sticks with your audience, but also to see what sticks with you, what you enjoy. That's totally cool. But it still needs to be tied to a strategy. You got to know where you're not. Like, I'm not going to make instructional video game videos. It's not going to happen. I'm not good enough at video games to teach anybody how to play them. I'm not going to make cooking videos because I hate cooking. I'm actually not terrible at it. I hate doing it. So why would I make something that I know myself is going to hate? That's where I'm not going to play. Just like the Apple example. I'm not going to make a video game box because it's not what we do best. And it's like Starbucks did that years ago, where they started selling all this extra crap in sandwiches. And if you look at their sales from when they started doing that, their sales took a dip. And all of the analysts were like, you guys got to get back to just selling freaking coffee, man. What is all this extra crap and coasters and CDs you're selling in the store? It's called line extension in marketing. It's like when Coke launched New Coke. They took a L when they did that. It didn't help them. It hurt them. Crystal Pepsi. And the companies don't learn. Like, they do it over and over and over again, and they end up hurting themselves. Terry says, Cooking with Alloy 7. How to Cook Delicious Food by Mike T. Shamborn. Well said. So, strategy. Remember, strategy without tactics, though, is going to take you forever to get where you're going. So if we don't get to the what, which we eventually get to, this is going to take you a long time to win, even if you have these first 4 figured out. But remember, if you don't get strategy figured out, you are almost guaranteed to fail. No matter how many of these other ones you get right, if you don't get number 4 correct, and I don't mean that there's a right or wrong answer. What I'm saying is if you don't do number 4 and make sure it's tied back to 1 through 3, you're almost destined. I won't say you're guaranteed to fail, because anybody can get lucky, but you're almost guaranteed to lose and fail. and to be that perennial creator who's, I've been on YouTube 50 years and I only got 300 subscribers. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Well, what you're doing wrong is singing that same sad song and not going and getting knowledge. How many books have you read about YouTube? I've read almost every digital book Amazon has on how to build a YouTube channel. Why would I do that? Well, because I wrote a book. Why in the world would I not read what my competition is doing and talking about? And strangely enough, and I wrote this on my sales page. I was like, hey, here's the other books on Amazon that this book competes with. Some of them are free, some of them are cheaper than mine. But here's why my book gives you something different. I don't even say better, because frankly, those books are okay. I think I maybe got one of them that was kind of like, all right, I'm glad this was free. But I paid for a couple of them. Like I got Daryl Eve's book. I got Tim Schmoyer's book years ago, before I ever started coaching. And so, you know, Tim's book is amazing. Daryl Eve's stuff is cool. You know what I mean? So I'm not in the game to compete and tear them down. They make good stuff. And the people who I didn't know who were making these books, and I've actually been in training courses that other people have put together. Like I was sitting through a YouTube marketing course, one of the courses you have to pay for. And the funny thing was, like, I was like, wow, this guy charges more than I do. And he teaches in 10 lessons what I teach in one of these free videos. And I'm not hating on him for that. That's cool. If he's making money and he's happy and his customers are happy, great. But I know that what I'm bringing to the table is way more than these other people. I bring some of them, not all of them. You know, like Tim packs his books full of knowledge. His free stuff and the stuff you have to pay for is full of knowledge. You know, I've been through some of his courses. I got his book. He's an amazing dude. You know, and so that's why he and I work together. I'm actually an affiliate of Tim's. I help or attempt to help bring Tim money, even though he's technically a competitor of mine, because I believe in what he does. Okay? And that's because I know my strategy. I know whom I am trying to, and because my strategy centers around helping people, it's not just about trying to shove my products down your throat. I'll tell you, Roberto makes excellent stuff. You should check him out. We put some of his videos in the academy. Not in the academy, but we post them and say, hey, go check out what Roberto made this week, man. He hit the nail on the head. You know, same with Tim. Same with Daryl. This isn't a competition where we're all, you know, in fact, they'd probably argue that I'm not a competitor of theirs, because their focus is here, and they focus a lot more of their business energy on YouTube. This for me is kind of a side project versus the other things that I do as an entrepreneur. This is not in other words, this is not my primary focus. So it's not even a competition so much as we're just all in the same market, kind of helping each other out. But if you don't get strategy right and figure out where you're going to play, but more importantly, where you're not going to play, then you're going to have issues. You're going to be the person that comes to me, and almost everybody that comes to me wants to start here. They want to immediately start having the conversation about what should I make, and can you come check out my channel and see what my videos, can you just give me 1 or 2 tips that makes me a better creator? No, because you haven't gone through 1 through 4 yet. And I know you haven't, because you wouldn't be asking me this question. And I'm not trying to yell at you. Okay? Don't take my passion and my excited personality as me trying to browbeat you, because I'm not. I'm just trying to drive the point home that everybody that comes and asks me, hey, can you come check out my channel and give me 1 or 2 tips? The answer is, I could, but it's not going to help you, because you live here, and this is the noise before defeat, because you haven't done 1 through 4 yet. You haven't done this. You haven't done your homework. That's why you're asking me for surfacey, superficial help. What am I really going to tell you in a 30-second cursory look at your channel? What am I really going to tell you that's going to change your life as a creator? Oh, you might want to pick up, and I watch people on, you know, social media and message forums, like, oh, you may want to punch up the bass in your audio a little bit, because nobody's paying. Like, the people who are trying to come consume your content, do you really think that a lack of bass in your voice is the difference? Like, Markiplier's famous because of his voice? Are you kidding me? His voice is famous because of him, not the other way around. And that's what we get twisted. We major in minors, like Tony Robbins says. We focus on the things that don't matter, right? Or matter less, the tactics, without getting 1 through 4 honed and squared away. Because if I go to war without 1 through 4 squared away, and I jump right down to tactics, I can guarantee you it's going to be a short war that ends with a parade and a field named after me. And if you don't know, guys that get fields named after them are dead. Okay? Is that what you want to be on YouTube? The dead creator with a field named after you? On social, man, here lies, you know, creator X. He was a great guy, but he didn't do his homework, and eventually he quit. I can't figure out why I'm not growing. Right here is why you're not growing. Because you're not doing your home. And this isn't just a YouTube thing. This is life, man. If you don't figure this out, you won't get the career you want. You won't get the, you know, the wife, the husband, the partner you want. You have to have these things figured out to succeed in any area of your life. It's not just YouTube. This is life, dude. These 4 questions will change your life if you answer them effectively. Remember, there's no right or wrong, black or white. It's effectiveness or ineffectiveness. By knowing yourself, your why you exist, and why you do the things you do, who you're doing them for, and what's the strategy. How are you going to get to all of these things? How are you going to get to the goals, which are out here? Right? That's what all these arrows are pointing to, by the way. I'll just go ahead and write that now. The arrows are pointing you to the goal. But you gotta go through, like Coach Arian says, you have to respect the process. If you have Amazon Prime, please go watch that Arizona Cardinals. Even if you don't like football, please just watch that series. There's so many good coaching nuggets. Like, oh my God, I gotta share this one. Dwight Freeney, one of the best outside linebackers, a Hall of Famer. He was on the Super Bowl team with Peyton Manning. He's coaching his teammates, and he's like, guys, there's no one way to get to the quarterback. He's like, football is chess, it's not checkers. He's like, when I run as fast as I can to the corner, like I'm going to the quarterback, I'm not trying to get a sack. I'm trying to get this lineman to believe that every play, I'm going to run as fast as I can to get to the quarterback, so he knows every play. He's got to back up as fast as he can because he's 300 pounds and his knees are shot. So he's got to outrun me. And then all I do is, instead of going full speed, one time I step and I fake and I spin, and then I get a sack because I've been setting that dude up all day. And then when my spin move happens, he's flat on the ground and I'm in the quarterback's face. He's like, it's chess, not checkers, it's strategy. And the same thing goes for YouTube. There's no one way to grow a YouTube channel. Now, there are principles that most successful creators all use, but there's no one thing that you have to do in terms of like a content strategy that wins. Okay? His point was that spin move. He says, when I started playing football, the way I played football wasn't allowed. He's like, coaches would crucify you if you did what I do to win. Okay, so sometimes being a nonconformist and unconventional can help you win. All right, let's look at some comments here. Let's see. Okay, so Bad Karma says, yeah, but it's good to get fresh eyes on something that they're not close to, but that's fine. My point is not that you don't get people to come look at your content, it's that you're doing it too soon. Because what I'm saying is, people are asking me to come look at their content before there's nothing wrong with you asking me to come check out your content. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with it, and in most cases, I do it. So let's be clear about that. Most of the people that ask me to do it, I say, hey, nice video, cool. Thanks for calling. What I'm saying is, if you haven't done these 4 things yet, me checking out your content and giving you tips is not going to help you. Because even if I can make your videos quantitatively better, the quality is not going to change because the self, why, and who and strategy are not baked into the videos. That's what I mean. All right, so let me be clear about that. I'm not saying you don't go ask people to come watch your videos. That's totally cool. What I'm saying is, most people come to me thinking that, hey, will you please come check out my videos because I'm having a problem, and I'm thinking you're going to give me one tip to help me get out of this pit that I'm in. And what I'm telling you is, your pit is you didn't do your homework. You just jumped on YouTube and started making, not you, but people just jump on YouTube, start making videos and wonder why nobody's watching them. That'd be like if I just set up my drums out in my neighborhood and started playing, wonder why, hey, why is nobody coming to watch me play drums and give me money? I'm such a good drummer. Look at this. Because it's out of context. There's no, maybe the people in my neighborhood hate people that pull out their drums and start playing them. You see what I mean? That's what I'm getting at. Hopefully that made sense. Let's see. Oh, Guardian Soulblade says, I post Alloy's videos in the full screen forums, and they're like, this video is great. Hey, sweet, thanks. Any help we can get is we accept. So yeah, I don't want people to think I'm against you coming and asking me to check out your channel. I'm just trying to get you to focus on the more important things. You get people to come check out your channel once you can articulate this. Like, think of it like this. If you were on the elevator with Bill Gates, would you be ashamed to let him see your... Bill Gates is a bad example. If you got on the elevator with PewDiePie, would you be ashamed to show him your videos? Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you think your videos are great. You know, if you're getting 8 views a video, your videos are probably not as great as you think. And I don't mean from a video quality. I mean, they're not answering the mail necessarily the way you want them to. It's not exactly true. I have some videos I think are amazing and nobody watched them. But here's why. They weren't great from a viewer's perspective because the viewers did not want to see that video. Doesn't matter how great the information was or how great I edited it. You know, I still say The Last of Us is arguably my best video game review ever, and it's one of my least watched videos because nobody wanted to see it. It's as simple as that. All the SEO in the world wasn't going to make anybody want to watch a video that they've seen a billion other people do. You know, and that's part of SEO too, is making sure you're picking the right stuff that can actually help your channel. Okay, so what most people want me to help them with is their titles or tags and come watch my videos and tell me 3 things I can change. And what I'm telling you is all that stuff's cool, but not if you haven't done 1 through 4. And so that's what I tell people when they ask me that. I'm like, okay, before I check out your channel, answer these 3 questions. And I can almost to the number predict how many subscribers, how many views you're getting, what your attach rate is. Because if I know you haven't done your homework, there's a very good chance, unless you have a large community of friends that are helping build you up, that a lot of people aren't checking out your stuff. All right. Guardian Soulblade says one guy was whining about growing, but he hadn't posted a video in 2 months. So yeah, and so again, having people check out your videos is actually a good idea. Please don't misunderstand me. But that's not the thing that's gonna, like, that's what you do when you know you've got a winner that just needs some tweaks, or you believe you have a winner that you've done all your homework, you've put the time in to study and know that this is targeted at a good audience, an audience that's big enough to help me grow the way I want to grow, and they're people that I can serve and that I care about, and I've got a strategy for how I'm going to reach them and where I'm not going to play. Like on my new gaming channel, I'm not going to play in the 18, or I'm not going to play in the 13 to 25 space. I'm not making content for people my son's age to about 25. Now, granted, younger people will show up. It's not that I'm excluding them. It's that I'm looking for a certain level of maturity on my channel and a certain type of person on my channel. And I know that that demographic, by and large, doesn't have those people, so I'm not targeting them. That's part of my strategy. In fact, I have a sentence on my channel that kind of is like, wait a minute, I don't fit, like, why can't I watch these videos? And you totally can. There are younger people who watch them than the audience that I'm targeting. Or, like, for example, I'll give you a marketing tip here. Axe body spray. Do you know who that's marketed at? Okay, so the people that actually buy Axe body spray are middle-aged women. Okay? That's going to sound weird, right? Why are middle-aged women the ones buying Axe body spray? Because they're the mothers of the 13 to 18-year-old boys who wear Axe body spray, right? But Axe doesn't market to 13 to 18-year-olds. Why? Because they ain't got no money. $0. They live at home with mom. They market to, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. They do market to 18 to 13-year-olds, but do you know how they do it? Because the videos, the commercials they make are not tailored to 13 to 18-year-olds. They're tailored around people who are 25 to 30. Why? Because when a 13 to 18-year-old sees a 25-year-old dude in a video that looks cool using Axe body spray, the 13 to 18-year-old is going to want to be like him. Like if that 25-year-old cool dude in the business suit that's, you know, fitted way too tight in New York has an angel lady that's really pretty walk up to him and kiss him because he put on Axe body spray, I want to be like that guy. Mom, can you go buy me Axe body spray? Yes. And so their sales are primarily middle-aged women because they're the ones that have to buy it for their 13-year-olds. Because most guys who are 25, hopefully, realize that Axe body spray is ridiculous. If you walk into a room smelling like that, and I'm sorry if you wear Axe body spray, I'm not trying to criticize you, I'm just saying, subtlety, guys with the ladies, subtlety, please, understand the power of subtlety. So, the point there is strategy has to be a part of what you're doing, and it has to be driven by what you understand about you, your why, and who you're trying to reach. Okay? Good. Tactics, the thing everybody loves to talk about. Can you teach me how to monetize this video? Like, I get some of the weirdest, so specific monetization questions that I'm like, what in the world? Like, I made a video with this song from AC/DC, but I played it backwards. Like, can I monetize that? Because I'm not. And the funny thing that I always get, and I'm like, I made a video on this, and I wish YouTube would just put it in the Stupid Creators Academy, because nobody else talks about it the way I do. Like, or at least not that I'm aware of. Like, dude, I'm not monetizing my video. Can I still upload Return of the Jedi on my channel? No, like, it has nothing to do with monetization. And I get these questions, and it's because everybody wants to get here. Why does everybody want to focus on tactics? You know why? Because it's the easiest thing to do on this list. It's the easiest. Nobody wants to go through the hard part, having to do self-discovery and maybe figure out that YouTube's not for me. That's scary, because I have a dream where I don't have to ever go to work and I can play video games in my basement in my underwear and get rich. So if I just focus on tips and tricks, and maybe he'll teach me how to monetize my stuff, and I'm using AC/DC and all these soundtracks, and can I use this song in my video? Because apparently videos that don't have licensed music in it don't get views, which is nonsense. And, you know, can you give me a tip or a trick that helps more people come to check out my channel because I only care about me? That's where everybody, because it's easy. Everybody wants to do the easy stuff. You know, in the gym, we have a saying, every day can't be chest day. Everybody loves chest day. Why? Because it's usually the thing that anybody who's been in the gym for any length of time has done so much that they're at least quasi good at it. You know, and when they're trying to show off for the ladies in the gym, like I can bench, you know, in my heyday, I was benching, you know, I was setting over 400 pounds. That looks really cool. But people in the gym don't realize I don't care. Like, I'm here to build something, a legacy and of strength and power. I don't care if women, like, have you seen my wife? You think I care about these chicks looking at me in the gym? No, couldn't care less, because I know who I'm coming home to. But that's not the point. The point is, I'm not in the gym trying to show off for people. I'm in the gym because I come to work. And part of my fitness is also for here. Lifting weights in the gym really hard keeps this guy peaceful. Because this guy, in this entitled, snotty-nosed, little spoiled brat world called America that we live in, sometimes this guy gets a little angry. And he goes to the gym to make sure that the sheepdog doesn't hurt the sheep. Because we have a code, we warriors, that we never hurt sheep. But sometimes you want to choke the hell out of a sheep because they're being stupid. And it's happened. Like, I remember at the gym one time, I watched a man almost put his hands on the girl who worked at the gym because his stupid-ass yoga class got canceled. And he was about to put his hands on this girl, and I didn't leave because I was like, if he puts his hands on this girl, I'm going to put him through the wall. Like, I just kind of stood behind him and his son as he was berating this young woman. You know, and I was fresh out of combat when that happened, so I still wasn't quite home yet when this scenario played out. And he's like, you have to tell us when yoga class gets canceled. And I'm like, first of all, dude, you're yelling about a yoga class. That's not very manly. And you're yelling and beating up verbally a woman, which just makes you look like a cowardly word that I won't say in public because my kids will probably watch this video. And so I stood there like, if he puts his hands on this chick, I'm not going to hurt him because his very young son was there, and also I don't want to get in trouble, but I'm going to neutralize the situation. So I have to live in a world where I just came from a place where I have friends that have been shot in the mouth. I have friends that have died from IEDs. I have friends that got killed by snipers. And now I got to come home and listen to this punk coward. God bless him. I'm sure, I'm not judging him but for God's grace, I'd probably just be like him. Be just like him. So hear me, I'm not judging anybody. But I am saying what drives frustration with me is this entitled, spoiled brat attitude that this country and most of the first world has. Because they've never had to struggle and bleed for anything that they believed in. I defended it happily and willingly. But believe me, sometimes you get a little angry about what you have to defend. But it's what you sign up for, so you do it. And I lift weights for that mental strength too, not just for my body. All right? And the point there is that willingness to work, that willingness to hurt. Most guys in the gym want to do chest all the time because it's easier, it's fun, and it's the thing that I'm already good at because I did it all through high school because somebody told me benching 300 pounds makes me cool. And so I just want to focus on chest. So our saying in the gym is every day can't be chest day. Some day you got to do legs, bro. Some days you got to get down and do squats. And yes, they suck. Yes, 500, 600 pounds on deadlifts hurts. 12 to 1,400 pounds on leg press hurts. Trust me. I used to do leg press where I'd put so much weight that the machine didn't have enough slots for it. And I'd get my 260-pound buddy to stand on the machine so that I could do 1,400 pounds on the leg press. Okay, and I'm not bragging. The point is, you have to have that level of tenacity. You have to be willing to go through 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are leg day. They're hard. This doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to sit down tonight and map out a perfect strategy. It's going to evolve over time as you evolve and as you define your why. It's going to be a constantly moving target, and it's hard because it's not black and white. Another thing issue that I have with people that I help is they want these black and white answers. What works? Can I monetize this? Yes or no? And the answer is always maybe. It's always maybe when you're asking me, can you monetize something? The answer is always it depends. Because I'm not a lawyer. By the way, I'm also not a judge, the only person who can determine if something is fair use. So all these people on the internet screaming about, well, my video is fair use. You don't know that. Because it hasn't been taken to a courtroom, and the judge did not rule that this is fair use. Up until that point, there's some ambiguity, gray area there. And that's what creators don't want to take the time to understand. They just want simple, cookie-cutter solutions that are going to get them from point A to point B, and they want me to be their tour guide. Not going to happen. And so for those of you who are strong enough to sit here on a call with me for an hour, 2 hours, you're the strong ones that are going to understand this, and you're going to be ahead of the game because you're going to go home or you're going to go to wherever you go and get this figured out. And then this is what you're going to come and ask me help for. This is why you're going to join the academy, because we teach you how to do all this. And we walk you through how to do it. And then the VIPs that get on, and so even like the people who aren't VIPs in the academy, I still let them come on a live VIP call at least once, because there's things we teach that you need to know. And even though you didn't pay for it, I'm giving it to you because I want you to have it so you can go win. And I'm going to let you come and spend however much time it takes for you to ask these questions to me in the academy, right? And then that's where I'm going to help you get light years ahead of your competition. And then when you get to by the time you get to tactics, you'll see stuff like I'm doing with my Bryant Chambers YouTube channel, where, after basically 2 weeks of activity, we've jumped up to 300 subscribers. Now, the channel's been there for months, but I wasn't uploading content. I put a couple videos up there, kind of saw what was working, was figuring out what direction I wanted to go in, because I had 50 different types of content I wanted to make, but I had to think strategy. Where am I going to focus? Where am I not going to focus? What am I going to cut? I'm going to cut this, 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 and this. I'm going to focus on these 2, start uploads. Boom. Within 2 weeks of doing that, I'm getting subscribers every single day. It takes time. It won't be 1 million tomorrow. It won't be 1,000 tomorrow, right? But it's going to perpetually and continually grow because I'm continuing to serve my who with my why that comes from my heart using good strategy. And this is the hard crap that no other creator wants to do. They just want to come here, play video games, or make vlogs where they sit in front of a camera because they think they're so interesting that people are just going to want to talk to them all day. Wrong answer. And on my watch, I refuse to have any ninjas come through here that don't get proper training. Because the way I look at the coaching I look at it just like I would coach a soldier, or I'd have somebody coach me before going into a firefight. If I don't give you everything you need to know before you go out there kicking in doors, you might get served, and then that's on me. That's me having to explain to a wife why you're not here anymore. And I refuse to have that be on my record. Not because it blemishes my record, but because that wife deserves to have her husband, her brother, her father, whomever, come home. And I treat the things I do in every area of my life with that same level of importance. And that's why I'm a little hard to deal with sometimes, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to make it nice. I'm not going to pat you on the head and say, you're going to get 1 million subscribers one day because you believe in yourself and because you have passion. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense, please. If anybody's feeding you that crap, go to their website and see what products they're selling and make sure you never buy any of them. Because you want the people who are going to tell you the truth, and they're going to teach you to be afraid of the things you should be afraid of, which is not doing this and then thinking that you're going to succeed. Okay? And I'm not saying that my exact formula is the way you need to do it. There's other things that you need to study, other people that you need to learn from, the Essential Drucker, Peter Drucker, Art of War, Sun Tzu. Okay, the stuff I'm telling you, these aren't my ideas. Please believe, this is from thousands of years of people who figured out things way before me. This isn't my formula. All right? All right. Let's see, Terry's got to go. I know, yeah, Terry, I can't believe you're still awake, brother. What time is it? Yeah, dude, get some sleep, especially if you got to work tomorrow. Let's see here. Where's the fair use? In court. Yeah, I mean, look, YouTubers, God love them. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to start, because I don't criticize people, man. I just criticize by creating. That's how I roll. Let's see. All right, if I've missed some questions, like I always say, 2 things, 2 administrative notes I forgot to make before we got started. 1, if I miss your question, repost it. It's not spamming, it's totally cool. I'm inevitably going to miss a question because I talk so much and you guys are typing. Feel free to repost it. Secondly, if you have questions, I don't care what the question is, frankly, it's welcome here. Even if it's not YouTube related. Even if you want to ask me a question about a career, look, I'm here to help however I can help. Okay, now I'm focused on social media and YouTube marketing. That's what we're focused on. But believe me, the principles that I'm going over here are going to be helpful in any area of your life. So if you got something you just need to get off your chest or ask me a question about, I'm not saying I'm going to have the answer, but feel free to ask it even if it's not related to the subject. And that's always the rule here, always. Your questions do not have to be related to what I'm talking about. Now, it may mean that I wait until the end of the presentation to answer it, but the question can be related to whatever. All right, so tactics, the what. This is where you have to learn, things like SEO. This is where you have to learn, so SEO is going to be your titles, your tags, your descriptions are highly important, but remember that all of that still has to be tied back to this, because if you get this wrong, the joke I always make about Shrek 2 and a lot of my other videos, that means your strategy's off. And even with great SEO, if you have a crappy strategy, remember, if you have great tactics and no strategy, it's the noise before defeat. If your whole strategy is, I'm going to run a Double Dragon 3 channel, good luck. All 14 people that are going to watch that crap, I mean, it's not crap. If it's what you enjoy, by all means, get out there. But I hope your goal isn't to be, the next PewDiePie making Double Dragon 3 videos, unless you have a way to make them insanely funny or, something you're doing specifically. But then it's not about Double Dragon 3, it's about comedy. So your strategy still needs to be tight before you get into those tactics. But that's where you're going to learn your SEO. You're going to learn how to position content. You're going to learn how to pivot, how to adjust. Like your tactics say, how long do I stay trying to make a certain type of content work until I determine this isn't working? How do I either tweak it so that it does work, or how do I just get rid of it? Right? And that's going to take some experimentation and knowing when, and knowing what analytics to look at to know whether something's working or not, or if something just needs a small tweak to make it work. Your analytics will tell you a lot of that. Again, that's something we teach in a lot more detail in the Academy. And we'll teach you what analytics to look at. Okay, how to use these analytics to drive so instead of coming to me and asking me what video should I be making, you'll be able to look at your analytics if you've been in the game. If you're brand new, then maybe not. But if you've been making content for a while, your analytics are going to tell you a great story about what's working and what's not working. Okay? See, Guardian Soulblade says, I mentioned in my book review that alloy won't hold your hand. Yeah. Oh, that's true. And that was actually probably my favorite part of your review, where it's like, this dude is not, he's just going to kick it to you straight. So Victoria says, honestly, what if you have a basic idea of your why, but no specifics to explain? So that is an excellent question, and I'm so glad you asked it, Victoria. Your why actually should be pretty simple, at least in the beginning, okay? So a lot of people think that their why has to be something grandiose. Something this big life change, and believe me, it's great. You know, like Seth Godin says in The Purple Cow, it's awesome if your idea is a save the world idea that can actually be accomplished, because people will want to get behind that. But let's say that your idea is a lot more simple. Let's say you want to make videos about hair care products, and I hate that I said hair care products. I'm not trying to stereotype. Let's just say you want to make videos about hair care products to help. So here's one that I see with some of the ladies that I've helped. Black women who want to make hair care product reviews for other black women because their hair is very different from, you know, European or Asian people's hair, and it needs different type of care depending on how these women want to wear it. Right? So for her why isn't some big complicated change. It's just, I want to make videos for black women to help them make smart purchases when they're in the hair care space, because it's so hard to find proper hair care products that allow us to get, not just make our hair look the way it wants to look. And this is actually a real conversation I had. This is not hypothetical. Not only is it hard to get products that make our hair look and behave the way we want it to behave, but it's also healthy for us to put it in our hair without tearing our hair apart. All right, so that's one of the ladies that I helped years ago, and that's a great why. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, you're better off, especially in the early stages, if your why is simple. I want to make content. So if you look at my Bryant Chambers channel, why? I help people build a winning playbook for their life. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Now, eventually you take that one sentence kind of mission statement, what Joel Salatin teaches us and has taught me. You want to have a mission statement. You know, the military taught me that, and that's it. I want to help people build a winning playbook for their life. I don't tell them what winning is. I don't have some long explanation about the definition of winning, because winning is defined by the person who consumes my content or my product. They determine what winning is. I just help them build a playbook that helps them get to it based on whatever their definition of winning is. It's very simple. Now, I have a much longer explanation of how, which we're going to get into here at the end. How do I help people build a winning playbook? That's where you get more complicated and you write out maybe a paragraph, and then eventually you write out a page or 2 pages that explain how we're going to do this. And going back to the strategy, where are we going to focus? Like right now, I focus on military, active duty, and reserve. I focus on specifically combat veterans, and then transitioning combat veterans. But then I also focus on young professionals. I'm actually building a career counseling program right now as we speak. I've mapped out the content for it, and I'll start recording videos here very soon, and then that product will go live, I'm hoping, by June of next year. That's the goal, where I help people find their, not only get a better job, but find out what career should we be in based on a lot of what we talked about here tonight. And then how do I actually go out there and get the job? And what are the big 4 that I need to focus on? Because most people are going to ask me, and they do, can you check out my resume? And I usually tell them, well, before I check out your resume, that's cool. I'd be happy to do that. But what is it you want to do? What drives you? What do you want to be? And then what companies will allow you to do that? And then they start thinking, they start doing their homework. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, yeah. So do your homework, and then let's see if we can get you in contact with somebody at one of those companies. You see, there's a process. So you should just have a 1-sentence statement that sums up your why. Okay? Very good question. Thank you for asking that. So Guardian Soulblade says, I found backlogging to Tumblr showed me how much SEO I didn't put on my videos. Yep, absolutely. So excellent question, Victoria. Thank you for asking that, because I forgot to cover it myself. That's textbook. So in my academy, we actually show you how to build your 1-sentence. We call it the 1-sentence destiny. in the academy. And that I stole that from one of my mentors, which was Ty Lopez. So I'm not going to sit here and act like everything I do is original. In fact, most of what I do is not original. It's just stuff that people way smarter than me have taught me, and I pass it on. So last thing, at least last thing on the board, and then we'll take questions. So let's review. The areas where most people lack knowledge is knowledge of self, knowledge of why they're doing what they're doing, knowledge of who they're doing it for, and then going back why, and also knowledge of why the who should care. Knowledge of strategy, where are we going to play, but more importantly, where are we not going to play? You know, and why, what is my one sentence destiny? 5, tactics. They don't know tactics. People don't know SEO. People don't understand how to do social media marketing. People don't understand how to use YouTube itself to do marketing for your channel outside of SEO. People don't understand how to use collaborations properly. They just think, you know, I get a lot of requests for collaborations, and it's clear that the folks haven't done their homework because, hey man, you want to play Grand Theft Auto 5 with me? I'm like, have you not heard at least 40 videos where I talk about how much I hate Grand Theft Auto? You know, and I'm not expecting a collaborator to watch it. Well, it's not necessarily true. I'm not expecting someone who wants to collaborate with me to watch every video, but watch a few before you just decide, oh, he's a bigger, like most people do. And we actually had this conversation. I went to a YouTube event for partners, and I was talking with one of the partner managers. It was just like, you know, we get so many collaboration requests, and it's clear that the person has just been told by YouTube they need to collaborate to grow, and it's true, but we don't really give them a purpose for it. Like, you should be collaborating with people you like. You know what I mean? Like, you should be collaborating also with people who make content like you make. And you should be collaborating with someone that you can add value to. You know, it should be a relationship, not just a means for me to, let me get your viewer base to come know who I am. I mean, that's one of the benefits of it. I've collaborated with some people. I've been on their shows. But the reason why they asked me to collaborate with them is because I had some specific knowledge that they wanted me to bring to the table, or I had a perspective that they wanted me to bring to their podcast or whatever the case may be. And so that's a great collaboration. I'm always happy to do that. But you know, if you want me to come, I don't really do multiplayer games. So like asking me to collaborate with you to play Call of Duty, I don't do that off of YouTube. I don't really play multiplayer games. So me collaborating with you is really just more work. It's not that I don't want to help you. It's just that type of collaboration really isn't attractive to me because I don't want to play a game that I'm already not playing. And I prefer single player games when I'm playing video games. So anyway, tactics. You got to have them. Otherwise, it's going to take you forever to win, even if your strategy's tight. But if you only have tactics, and remember, tactics is where most YouTubers start. They don't do these 4. Please do these 4. Even if you've already started and you didn't do these 4, just go back and do them now. It's never too late. It's never too late. Never too late to go back and figure this out. And by the way, let me encourage everyone. I know I get kind of heavy-handed with my commentary here, but let me encourage you. 1 through 4 is not easy, but it's not complicated. All right? It's not complicated, but it's not easy. It takes time, and it takes practice. You're not going to get it exactly right, ever. It's never going to be exact, but it is going to be refined over time. Okay, you're going to take a first stab at it. It's going to be probably most likely mediocre. And then you're going to step back, take another look at it, like, okay. And then you're going to share it with some people, going back to what Bad Karma was talking about. You're going to share and have other people check it out. Like when I built the review system for this channel, when I was doing reviews, I had other reviewers and other people, other gamers review that review system before I launched it. It wasn't just my idea. Other people contributed to that. Some of the categories were contributed by other people. It wasn't all my ideas. So you'll want to do that. But just know that 1 through 4 it doesn't come easy, and it takes practice. It's going to take you some time, and you know you're going to refine it over time, and you're going to launch. You're going to do it, and then you're going to launch, and then you're going to realize, oh, I need to adjust that a little bit, and then you're going to adjust it, and you're going to keep going, and then you're going to adjust it. And you're going to keep going, and what you're going to notice is you're going to start to get momentum. You know, at first it's going to flatline, maybe dip a little bit, but then eventually you're going to start to figure out what works, and you're going to be able to start to get that momentum that you're looking for and that growth that you're looking for. All right, so don't be afraid of the fact that this is hard. Know it's hard going in, but know that you can do it. Trust me, if I can figure this out, please. I'm a computer scientist. You think I'm sitting up here coming up with philosophical stuff on my own? No, just smarter people than me teach me this stuff. Last thing that I find that a lot of creators lack is skills. And so skills are the how we implement our tactics and our strategy for our who, with our why, coming from the heart, ourselves. Skill. If you want to be an NBA basketball player, you're not going to just wait until you're 18 years old and then show up at a tryout. Be like, all right, yo, I'm here for the NBA. Let's rock. How much where are you from? Oh, I'm from DC. Who did you play basketball for? Oh, I didn't play any basketball. I'm just here because I saw Jordan. I was watching Michael Jordan play, and he made it look real easy. I thought I could do that too. So where do I sign? That's how a lot of, and I'm saying that to be funny, but a lot of creators approach me like that. Like, if PewDiePie can get all these views, I can do that. It's like, well, all right, then by all means. And I'm not saying that PewDiePie, when he first started, did all this. Understand, he probably didn't. But he did all this over the years of him working. Okay? He did it kind of the hard way. And I'm assuming, I don't know him personally, but looking at how he ran his channel in the beginning, he ended up doing all this by trial and error instead of sitting down and doing it first. Okay? That's why it took him a couple of years to start seeing the growth trajectory. Instead of you start applying this stuff now, you'll start to see the trajectory a little bit easier. Okay? You won't necessarily get to 40 million subscribers because he had a type of content that was very laser focused on a group of rabid fans who wanted more of that kind of sensational buffoonery type humor, like the Jackass stuff that's popular on Netflix. I'd rather watch paint dry than watch Jackass, but a lot of people like that stuff. And it's not just young people, older people too want to be entertained with kind of stupid stuff. And he figured that out, and he worked, and eventually he got here. Now he has a book. I mean, you could tell, like, he's done some work because he's got a book, he does tours, he's built a business around what he's doing. It didn't start that way, but it got here. But if you start here, you can, accelerate your ability to get to whatever your definition of success is in a way that will be faster than it would have been if you didn't. All right? But you also have to develop some skills. Like, if you don't, like, I get questions. I had somebody ask me recently, hey, what video editing software do you recommend? I don't recommend. Google video editing software tutorials. Google what's the best video editing software. Because, frankly, my opinion is based on my bias. There is no best video editing software. Some people are going to tell you Sony, Vegas or whatever it's called now. I think they changed the name. Some people are going to tell you Jump Cut something. Some people are going to tell you Premiere. That's what I use. It's kind of the industry standard. Or Apple's program that a lot of Hollywood uses. But neither of these programs is better than the other. It's just some of these programs are better suited for different people. So that's the stuff you should be Googling, and then developing your skills in that. Go watch some tutorials about how to edit videos. You don't need me to teach you that. There's people way smarter than me. I'm not a very good editor, to be honest with you. I'm good enough to make something that doesn't look completely horrible. But the strength of my content is not how it's edited. I'm not a vlogger. So I'm not going to do those videos where there's 50 jump cuts and it's and then it's me over here and then it's me zoomed in, and I'm not doing all that. Look, man, I'm here to help people win. I'm not here, I am entertaining. I get it. But my primary focus is not to entertain. I use entertaining banter because that's what keeps people's attention. But my primary focus is to help you win. I can guarantee you in the gym, I'm not entertaining anybody. You come to work out with me in the gym, you come to work. Now, I'll tailor the workout to your ability level. I'm not going to kill anyone. But at the same time, we're not there to play or for you to be, I'm not going to be a monkey for you to watch. I'm here to help you win. So, you got to develop skill. And I think, out of all of them, this is the one that people probably lack the least. But they could improve it. People always ask me, how did you get so comfortable on camera? Dude, I've been doing public speaking for, over 20 years probably. I've been doing public speaking since I was a kid. I was writing my father's speeches in his business and where he worked when I was 13, 14 years old. I was helping my dad write speeches. So I've been doing public speaking forever, or been involved in it. You know what I mean? So, and I've been a military officer, so I used to have to get in front of hundreds of people and talk. I've been doing it forever. It's just, it's practice. It's not that he's a born speaker. He's not, no speakers are born. Speakers are coached. Period. I just have a lot of experience doing it. And I'm not the best. There's other orators who are more engaging and they understand the ballet of how to present information, especially like if you watch church pastors. There's a rhythm and a funk to the way that they deliver their information a lot of times. And it's good. It keeps people's attention. It's great. But we can still improve. You know, we can still build our SEO knowledge and skills. And you get the skill through the practice, like Coach Arian says. Respect the process. Okay? So, get knowledge of self. Understand why you're doing what you're doing. Understand who you're doing it for and why they should care that you're doing it. Know your strategy. Where are you going to play? Where are you not going to play? Understand tactics, because without tactics, it's going to take you forever to get to where you're going. Understand SEO. Understand collaborations. Understand the types of videos. That's the other thing here. The what. What types of videos are you going to make? You know, your strategy governs where you're going to play, where you're not going to play. Well, what type of videos are you going to make to answer that call? And then how? Develop your skills. Okay? So don't let lack of knowledge be a YouTube success killer for you. Right? That's the goal. We don't want your success getting killed because you think you know more than you do. Be like every wealthy person I know and that coaches me. All of them say, I am smart enough to know that I'm dumb enough to ask for help. Don't be the person that thinks you know everything, because you don't and I don't. The more you realize that you know very little, the more you will reach out and you'll have a bookshelf like mine. Notice how my bookshelf doesn't have a lot of games on it. There's a reason for that. Because these books help me a lot more than these 2 games I keep up here. And I gotta have a box of games off camera here, so it's not like I don't have games. But trust me, I tell my kids all the time, how many games do you see on my bookshelf? None. How many books? A lot. Well, which one do you think is more important? Playing Minecraft or learning how to program so you can build your own Minecraft one day? All right? So hopefully you guys got a lot out of that. I am pretty much done with what I wanted to present, but I'm here for a little while longer to answer some questions should you have them. Feel free to put them in the comment section below and let's get going. So, Super Ohio Brother says, try and find out their... Okay, so he's helping somebody. The Art of War has always been my favorite book. Would you consider The Art of War one of your favorites? And if you could recommend a couple of books, it'd be appreciated. I'm excited to read yours soon. Yeah, so Art of War is one of my favorite books. Actually, a host of my favorite books are right here on camera. So you got The Art of War, you got Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker, The Essential Drucker by Peter Drucker, The Lessons of History by Will Durant, The Journey of Desire by John Eldridge, Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, by far my favorite author. Chronicles of Narnia will teach you a lot about life. I know it's fiction. I typically don't read fiction. Those books are powerful. And it's, you know, it's not just because they're, you know, biblically influenced or whatever. It's because there's a lot of principles in there that are awesome. Like if you ever read A Horse and His Boy, when the boy escapes from the taskmaster, tyrant, slave owner, the horse asks the boy, can you fall? And the boy says, don't you mean can I ride? The horse is like, no. I need to know if you can fall, because you're going to fall eventually. I need to know that if you fall, you're not going to cry. You're going to get back up on the horse and keep riding. Because that's the key to our survival. And in life, you have to know how to fall. Knowing how to ride is great, but you're going to fall. You're going to have temporary failure on the road to success. Can you fall? That's such a profound way to illustrate how life works. And it's in a kid's book. You can't find that in, you know, freaking the Da Vinci Code or any of these other stupid books that are out there. And I'm not, you know, calling that book stupid. I've never read it. And what I mean is, you know, these entertaining books are not giving you life knowledge the way that some of this other stuff is. All right. So those are the ones that I'd recommend off the top of my head. Belgian Dan says, thanks. True about the editor, says the Healthy Cow. Hit Film Express. That was one of the ones I left out. I do have that one. I think, is that one still free, or are they charging for that now? I got that one for free, and I think it was when they first started. Like they reached out to a bunch of people like, hey, get it for free. Test it out. Victoria Youngblood says, did you ever have stage fright? The only time I ever deal with stage fright is when I have to present something that I don't know. Like doing music, maybe my first show ever I had stage fright. But when you practice as much as I did as a musician and you kind of know what you're doing, No, not really. Most musicians I know don't really struggle with stage fright. You get nervous before a show, but the nervous energy is because you want to do well. It's not because of, stage fright is really a biological thing. We, by nature, humans are pack animals, or pack people. I don't want to call us animals because that's kind of derogatory, but that's not how I mean it. We are social creatures, and we don't want to do something that's going to ostracize us from the crowd, because we learned thousands of years ago that if we're ostracized from the tribe, we could die in the wilderness. So we've carried that forward. And so stage fright is really a fear of failing in front of people who may reject us. It's a fear of rejection. I don't struggle with it because usually when I step on stage, I know what I'm talking about. But if I have to give, like I've had to give presentations in the past where it was really ambiguous stuff that I had to brief and I didn't really understand it, and I was nervous there because I wasn't sure I could convey it properly. But in terms of like general stage fright, not really. Not when you've been doing it as long as me. Like I said, maybe when I first started, but not now. Let's see. Guardian Soulplay says, when it comes to editing, you need to look at reviews to see what would be suitable for you. Sure. Kev Factor says, I missed the stream. Don't worry. It'll be up on YouTube here in a couple hours. Don't worry. Zodrap says, I think that says Zodrap. Sorry if I mispronounce your names, folks. Well said. Thank you. Healthy Cow says, Alchemist is a good fiction book. Cool. Oh, Super Higher Brothers saying the book is still free. So the book is free if you join our mailing list. It's kind of a give and take thing. So you get on our mailing list, help us with our movement to push, our message forward, then we give you a copy of the book. And by the way, the book, for those of you who may not know, it comes in the second email I send, not the first. The first email is me greeting you, saying welcome, telling you a little bit about my story. And then in the second email, I go deep. Second email, I title it How I Lost 90,000 Subscribers. And it's the story of Alloy 7 and a lot of the pitfalls that I ran into because of the way the channel evolved and ways that I could have avoided problems if I would have made decisions that I've made very recently, over a year ago, 2 years ago, when I was originally going to make the changes, and how it cost me dearly to do that. Let's see. Do I recommend reading Gary? Yes. Gary Vaynerchuk's books. Yep. Subscribe to him on YouTube. Watch all this stuff. Read his books. Jab, 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 right hook. Read that. Powerful book. Have you read 1984? And if so, are we close to living it? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. A lot of those dystopian books kind of favor the sensational, and nothing is ever quite as romantic as like the Civil War is never as amazing and romantic as we make it, or Band of Brothers makes World War II look like. War is gritty, man. It's not this romanticized, the hero runs in, Rambo, and none of that stuff's real. So usually these books, and like stage plays and acting, they thrive on exaggeration to make things interesting. So in some ways we're there. In some ways it's not as serious as we're probably led to believe it is. Let's see. Chronicles of Narnia is one of my favorite book series. Yep. By far my favorite. Favorite author. And C.S. Lewis wrote a lot of other books. I'm reading some of them now. He's an amazing, amazing author. And I love him because he's kind of sarcastic. And so am I. So I think he and I would have got along if he was still living. If I could have had him mentor me. So Kerr says, YouTube deleted active subscribers and plenty of channels. There's some sort of bug. Yeah, like I think the system doesn't always track subscribers properly, so they have corrections. Like they say, oh, you got 1 billion subscribers yesterday, and then it's like, no, you didn't. We either counted it wrong or we didn't catch a bunch of accounts got closed. And there's been days where I've lost 300 subscribers. Just boop, gone. Thanks for playing. You just keep moving. It's not that serious. Kev Factor says, think the last book I sat down and read was about Martian. Even have a Kindle. Okay, so you think you're slacking too much. Now you know what you need to change. Stop slacking, start reading books. It's easy, man. It's like people all the time are like, I'm going to start going to the gym after New Year's. Like, just don't. Like, if you have to wait to get in shape, like, no, go to the gym tomorrow. Don't wait till New Year's, because if you wait till New Year's, you're going to lose your edge. You're going to lose you're going to lose the little bit of motivation you have. Act now. Pick a book tonight and start reading it tonight. You don't have to finish it tonight, but start. The Horse and His Boy is my favorite Narnia book. Me too. I'm glad to hear that. You don't find too many. I was told I was crazy because that was my favorite book in the series. I'm glad to have another internet soulmate there. That's pretty cool. Okay, any other questions before we get ready to close out? If you want the book, links are in the description to get the ebook. Totally. And like I said, we work with way more than just gamers. I always have. I've kind of always focused on gamers because that's what I was doing. Like, the reason why I focus so much on gamers is because my channel was originally a gaming channel. I wasn't sure that other creators, I could develop the clout that I would need to, you know, help other people. But what I noticed was, even on a gaming channel, tons of people, like beauty channels, cooking channels, people just started asking me questions. I'm like, okay, I can finally make this transition, take my gaming work and put it on my gaming channel. I have a separate gaming channel now where I still do gaming, because I still do love certain games, but I only focus on the games I really like. I'm not playing everything under the sun or reviewing every new release. I'm only playing stuff that I know, or at least beyond a shadow of a doubt believe that I'm going to love. Not like, I'm done playing games that are good. Like, if the game's not amazing, it's over. I don't want to play or make videos about something that's not amazing. Why waste anybody else's time, including mine? But the ebook that I created, the Gamer's Survival Guide, will apply to anybody. Like, there's only one chapter that's not going to apply. And it's the chapter where I tell you what gear to buy as a gamer. Although some of the gear would still make sense even if you're not a gamer. Especially if you're a vlogger. But don't let the title throw you off is my point. It'll still be very applicable to whatever you're doing on YouTube. And it's totally free if you join our mailing list. Let's see. Davinus Den says, so I am still recording and commenting on games to practice. When I feel good, I do feel I'm well enough. However, there are bad days and I just feel commenting is stupid. How do you get through them? You forget about them. Why are we even still talking about your bad days? Everybody's going to have them. You shake them off. I'll give you a perfect example. My son, I started a Let's Play channel for him because he wants to get into it. Started playing Roblox. He came down into my office to record yesterday. I got everything set up for him, teaching him how to edit and do everything. He starts doing his show. Now, I leave him alone when he's doing his show because I want him to kind of learn without me in his face. And I'll kind of over the shoulder him and make corrections. But so he recorded a whole show. He realized that his show sucked. He's like, I don't like this. I'm going to start a new show. But instead of just pausing with the audio, because I record audio and video separately. Instead of just pausing and starting a new show, he shut the video editor down, or the video recorder down, and then restarted it without restarting the audio. So now the audio is completely out of sync. He didn't know where the timestamp was to sync it up. And so when I came back down to help him do his editing, I was like, all right, I was like, why do you have two videos here? I was like, dude, did you close the video editor and then reopen it? He's like, yeah. I was like, then you just spent an hour and a half filming a Let's Play that's never going to get aired live. Because I am not going to sit here for an hour figuring out where this audio syncs up at. So, lesson learned, don't ever do that again. And he was like, he was sad for a minute, and he was just like, okay, next week I'll get it right. You're going to have those days. Screw it. Forget it. I have videos that I don't release. I keep them, you know, just kind of as a reminder, do it better next time. But I don't think about it. I just move on to the next video, you know, or like I've done shows where I've gotten about 3 minutes in and I realize this sucks, I need to start over. Or I've done like a 20-minute show where like the last 5 minutes sucks, so I cut it. And I keep the stuff that works. Don't sweat the small stuff is my point. Will there be more of these live? Yes. At least once a week, my goal on the weekend is to do a live call like this. This is usually the night I broadcast, Sunday nights. But I did a broadcast last night as well because I had time. And I knew I was going to the White House yesterday. I was taking my family there to meet the good people at the White House and take the tour and see all the cool stuff there. And then I was like, I'm going to have some free time Saturday night. I don't have any stuff to record from other channels because I've done it all. Let me just do a live show. So I was figured I'll do 2, give everyone something to chew on for the rest of the week. So at least once a week we'll do this, hopefully. Captain Spock says, how's it going, bud? It's going great. How's it going with you? Davin's Den says, thanks. Yeah, no problem, man. My pleasure. Okay, last call. Get your questions in if you have them. Anybody else have questions? Preguntas para mí. If you habla español. Español. My accent sucks now. The live shows are amazing. Thank you, Victoria. So let me let you guys screenshot the board too, so you can have everything I wrote up here and not lose it. So any questions about the free ebook, again, links in the description. Remember, if you have pop-ups, disabled, the first link may not work. It's just going to take you to the sales page. That sales page has a pop-up that allows you to not have to pay for the book. You just subscribe to the mailing list, and then I start sending out the emails, and then the second email, so day 2, you're going to get one email immediately from me, pretty much immediately. And then day 2, you're going to get another email from me 24 hours later, where, or roughly thereabouts when I send it out. And then that's going to have the link at the end of the email to get the ebook. And that's for like people that don't come on these calls. Like I don't want them to just join the mailing list like, yo, take this book. Like I want to take them through the process of what they just signed up for. And that's what the first email does. And then so in the second email is where I give them, because in the first email I explain there's a book coming. Just prepare for it, because tomorrow you're going to get an email from me that gives you the book. All right, what do we got? Belgian says no, it would be no hablo español. But clearly, yeah, you don't, because Healthy Cow says Roblox is booming as far as growth. It's not nearly as saturated as Minecraft. Very good choice for your son to record. Cool. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to do one more last call for questions, and then we're going to adjourn. We're going to do the benediction here. Not really, for my friends that aren't into praying. I'm just joking. I'm not going to do a benediction. Super Ohio Bros asks, do you recommend the officer life to college grads? Do you mean military officer life? Specify. So yeah, it's funny because YouTube has this like minute-long delay. So I asked that question. It's going to take him a minute to respond because he's not going to hear it for 30 seconds. David says, I have received the email but didn't have the money then. Not sure where the email is now, but I have it somewhere. Can I get another mail somehow? David, I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean you didn't have money? Money for what? When you sign up for the mailing list, there's no money involved. The second email you'll get from me is actually a link to get the book for free, not for money. Okay, so yes, military. And so, Ohio Bros, it really depends. I will say, without any hesitation, the military is an amazing institution. It's awesome. It really, you will get better training on how to be a person, how to be a leader, how to overcome challenges, how to keep the right mindset when you face challenges. The military will prepare you for life in more ways than you can possibly imagine. And it will put you in some ways ahead of your peers. In some ways, won't put you ahead of your peers, because you have to remember the real world operates very differently from the military. Unless you work at a company like Apple or Google, which, people like Peter Drucker figured out 100 years ago that running your organization like the military runs is actually very smart, because militaries have been in place for thousands of years. People don't like structure and they don't like order a lot of times, so they think the military is, it's not like that at all. The structure is there to make things easier for you. But it really depends on what you want to do it for. Like, do you have a burning desire to lead soldiers or airmen or sailors or Marines? Do you potentially want to be in harm's way? Not that anybody ever wants to be, but do you have the willingness to go fight if the country calls on you to do that? And what are your life goals? Like, what is it that you want to do with your life that the military could possibly prepare you for? So it's just like determining whether or not you want to go to college. Like, if you want to be a surgeon, you're going to have to go to college. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you might be better off just finding, you know, a multimillionaire who's willing to coach you and show you how to be an entrepreneur, because he's already done it. You don't have to learn it from a book. You can go work in this guy's company. He can mentor you like an apprentice, and then you just become awesome. So the military is great depending on what your goals are. And that goes for anything, not just the military. So why did I join the military? Well, at first it started because I wanted a way to go to college that I didn't have to pay for. But then once I got into it and realized how awesome it was, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And the military actually suits my personality type. So unfortunately, there's no big romantic story like I wanted to be a hero or any of that nonsense. I didn't want to be a hero. Just wanted to do my job, and I wanted to be good. You know, and I come from a family of career soldiers. So I was not a career soldier. I left, but my father spent, you know, over 30 years as a soldier. One of my brothers spent over 10 years. One of my brothers is still in the military. So, you know, my uncles, it's kind of always been a part of my family, is the simple answer. Cool. Have a great night too, Zoda Rap. Excellent. All right, it looks like we've taken care of all the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and wish you all the best. But first, I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve you tonight and always. Hopefully, prayerfully, you got something valuable out of this. Okay, like I've said before, I believe in giving away more stuff than I'll ever charge for. Okay, I think it's fair to charge money if you give people at least 10 times what they pay you for. All right, and some of that means doing free stuff that nobody pays me for. And that, you know, Gary Vee, like those of you asking about Gary Vee, that's his philosophy, and I support that, and I agree with it. You know, he gives away stuff that people charge for. I give away stuff. I'm telling you, I sit in YouTube seminars that people have to pay for, that we have to pay for, and it's just like, you know, for me, it can be a business expense. So there's ways that I can use it to my advantage. But you know, I sit in some of these classes like, all right, you know, I'm not gonna knock the hustle. But I can't believe this dude, and this isn't any of the people you know. These are like marketing folks that focus on actual marketing companies. Like, they're making tutorials for marketers that want to get on YouTube to market products and services, not creators that want to build channels. So it's a little different, but at the same time, it's like, wow, this was a $500 program that, you know, the second video in my program that I charge $200 for covers everything in this entire program, you know. Slight exaggeration, but it's, you know, I want to make sure I'm equipping you all, because I understand that YouTubers, a lot of times people are attracted to this platform because it's free. You don't have to pay any money to be a creator, and a lot of you may not have the resources. You may be at a spot in your life where you're still trying to build to have resources. So I want to make sure there's enough content here to help you out, regardless of whether you can pay me to help you or not. All right, that's kind of my thing. So I see some other questions. Let me make sure. Have a good night, bud. Wish you would have hit the live stream. Wish I would have hit the live stream, but I'll be sure to come back once it's uploaded. But again, thank you for your time. Thank you, Captain Spock. Appreciate the answer. Thanks, B. I have a desire to better myself and to do what's right. And I've always had this idea of joining either the Air Force or the Army. Yeah. But so what I would do, if you want to do, map out what you want to do for your life. Like, is the military what you want to do as a career? If not, figure out what that is, and then figure out if the military offers jobs that will help you get to that goal. You know, like I knew when I went to college, my goal was to own my own business. I knew that at 17. You know, so, and I started my first company at 25. So, or actually no, yeah, I was 25, I think, when I started my first company. So I've been in the game for a while. And, you know, the military I knew was going to be great for teaching me principles and systems A lot of what I teach you guys here are things that I learned in the military too. To help me get to that goal. So if it'll help you get to the goal, then do it. If it won't, then don't. All right, so my friends, like I said, it's been a pleasure to serve you. Hopefully you've gotten at least half as much out of this joyfully as I've been able to give. It's always a pleasure to come before you. If you have questions, you know where to find me here on YouTube. You can also email me, but remember the rule. Google it first. Do your homework before you ask me a question. Not because I don't want to answer it, because that's respectful. You're respecting not only your time and your development, but you're respecting my time, and you're respecting the time of the other people that I spend time coaching, and you're respecting the time of my family. Because if I have to spend time answering a simple monetization question that you could have looked up, then that's time that I'm taking away from my family. And we don't want to do that to each other. We want this to be a good relationship. So with that said, remember that we are stronger than I love every one of y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.